яку покинув так давно. Цілую, ставши на коліно, своє полкове знамено. Дивлюсь на нього я востаннє, у нез'ясованій журбі. Всю кров мою всі скидаю.
Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лафтем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, та вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Street Army sends its regards.
О, бля! Игорь!
Hello everyone, I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 340 of the news, and we have very big news tonight.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news in the war in Ukraine, but tonight the war has appeared in one form or another to have spilled outside of Ukraine and into the Middle East, as tonight we saw several things occurring within Iran that were particularly interesting and also pertain directly to the situation going on inside of Ukraine. Earlier on in the morning, we got reports of a magnitude 5.9 earthquake rocking the area around the Iranian town of Tabriz and causing the death of 3 people. We got the clip right here of that on Google, and you can see the affected areas, and you can see that it's just north of that town. Later on in the day, and more so occurring in the night hours, we saw that an arms factory, several arms factories, were hit in Iran. This is one that was caught on film, but it has been reported that 4 separate arms factories have been hit by some kind of guided munitions and have exploded over the past 24 hours. We can see the first arms factory here getting hit and exploding. And that's the end of that clip. And moving on to another one, we then got reports that the Iranian government has been able to shoot down unidentified flying objects over the airspace of Iran. The source of these aircraft, or what they really are, is unknown at this moment, but we did see that they were able to intercept at least one of them and shoot it down. That glowing white orb is the aircraft. We're about to see the missile impacted and explode right there. And that's the end of the clip. Incredibly short and leaving a lot to be asked and questioned about what's really going on in Iran. But from what we can tell, things are definitely starting to escalate quickly within the, I guess you could say, the borders of Iran and what is going on down there. One thing we also got is that the footage, or at least one of the arms factories that was hit today, was actually the Shahed 136 factory that the Iranians used to produce the kamikaze drones that are shipped into the Russian Federation. So that factory is now out of action, and the Iranians, if they want to sell any more drones to the Russians, will have to work off of current stores and inventories of those drones, or they will have to start shelving orders that the Russians have made due to a lack of production and the ability to fulfill those orders. We don't really know what's going on in Iran right now. It's been incredibly bizarre just off of a couple of these video clips, and we've also heard that civil unrest is once again raking the entire country from north to south and east to west, and people are starting to take to the streets once again. This could be lining up Iran for some sort of coup d'etat, a massive civil unrest, or something more along the lines of a civil war. We're not entirely sure at this moment, and we don't even know who's really involved in this, because one thing we know that is a guarantee: there is no, I guess you could say, group within Iran that has drones large enough to drop guided munitions onto arms factories. Those drones have to be coming from somewhere else, some other country. And of course, I'm not even going to speculate on who those countries may be, but this is definitely a serious situation in Iran that we will be seeing evolving over the next couple of days. If it doesn't evolve from here and it goes silent immediately afterwards, I will be incredibly surprised. If it continues on, we will make sure to be covering this on the side, as it appears to be directly related to the war in Ukraine in one way or another by proxy. We're now going to be moving on from the area of Iran, because speaking of foreign support like the Iranians give to the Russians, of course, many Western nations have stepped forward and pledged to send tanks of their own, whether they be Leopards, Challengers, or Abrams, into Ukraine to help bolster their armored forces and provide them a modern cutting edge. Interestingly enough, on video today, we saw that some Swiss Leopard 2s have been loaded onto the back of trucks and were spotted near a border checkpoint in between Germany and Switzerland. We have no reason to believe that these Leopards are being shipped out of Switzerland, but it is incredibly bizarre because I tried to do a little bit of digging and there really is no Swiss army bases anywhere near the Swiss-German border. Most of them are a little bit further inside Switzerland, so I don't really understand how they made it this close to the Swiss border. And we can see, oddly enough, ironically enough, the trucker is sitting inside of his cab watching this Russian propaganda show as the truck goes by pulling one of the Leopards. Well, you see one of them right there. It is a Swiss Leopard 2A4. And when you see another Leopard 2A4 being pulled right here,
возможно, мы тоже об этом подумаем, ничего не исключаем, а также надо, чтобы они попросили официально. Попросят официально, мы, естественно, тоже заявку рассмотрим. Но, судя по заявлению Lockheed Market, они уже взяли под козырек. Там...
Kind of ironic that he's watching the Russian propaganda channel and probably getting a laugh out of the propaganda while these tanks are moving around. And, of course, at the moment, we haven't heard the Swiss declare that they are breaking their neutrality and siding with the Ukrainians and supplying them with arms. So we obviously have no reason to believe that these Leopard 2s will be making it to Ukraine. And due to the transparency of the Swiss government and how the government in Switzerland is run, we haven't heard any announcements about these sending over. And the idea of a classified arms shipment being delivered to Ukraine is also fairly unlikely. It still is incredibly weird, though, to see that the Swiss brought Leopard 2s this close to the border. In fact, this is the parking lot of the border checkpoint in between Germany and Switzerland on one part of the border. So that is somewhat bizarre, to say the least. We're now going to be moving on from the area of Switzerland because while the Swiss, we can't really guarantee that they'll be sending tanks or not. Many countries have, like the United States, and of course, the North Koreans had to have something to say about it. Matthew, they've got to get their equal attention cake one way or another, and this time they're pulling out Kim Jong-un's sister to once again make a comment, because Kim Jong-un is a little too above this, so they have to bring out his sister named, wait for it, Kim Yo-jung. So, yeah, yo!
Yo.
Hey, Kim, yo!
Yo, Adrian.
Yo, Adrian, I did it. So, according to her, she said, North Korea will always stand in the same trench with the service personnel and people of Russia. Oh, man. It's always good to know that Russia has the biggest losers in the world as their friends. And also, if that's a true statement right there, where are the North Koreans right now? I haven't seen a single North Korean in a Russian trench in Ukraine yet. So, kind of a little bit of a stupid statement right there, because if you're going to say something like that, how come that isn't backed up with actual doing? You know, saying is more than doing is more than saying, and this woman is all about saying, just like her bigger and much wider brother, and there is no doing being involved at all. So we're now going to be moving on.
Subtle roast.
A subtle roast. Well, you can't really be subtle about that guy, because the thing is that the United States would have invaded North Korea, but by the time they drive around Kim Jong-un to get to the border, they'll be out of gas. So, you know, it's something we would have dealt with a little bit earlier. It's not really a roast, it's just fact. But we're now going to be moving on from South Korea, because North Korea, because North Korea is a very, very small country in the context of the world, and beyond them just having nuclear weapons, there's really nothing much more that they have. They don't have an economy at all. Like usually there's a comparison that we make here about economies on this channel and how the United States can outspend, or another country can outspend the other if a war was to be declared. There is no point in even doing that with North Korea, because I think their GDP is something like $80 billion a year, which is about the net worth of, I think, Mark Zuckerberg at this point. So not really that big of a deal, and there's no point in even talking about them because they're insignificant as a country. And so we're now going to be moving on into Britain. And also, I ask, just in case if you're wondering, when are we going to get to the Russian news? Stick around, because that's going to be the craziest news of the night, and I think some of y'all are really going to be taken aback that some of our best support has already been destroyed. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. We're now going to be moving into Britain and London, where we saw that a guy walked out of his house this morning and saw this big, beautiful yacht. And I gotta say, I'm not really a big fan of modern yachts. I think they're kind of ugly, but this is a very impressive modern yacht. And interestingly enough,
that is impressive. That like front is very nice looking on that. I like it.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. And guess what? It was an oligarch's yacht, and it's been seized by the British government.
Oh, so it's ours now.
Yeah, it's ours now. It's the public yacht.
The people's yacht.
The people's yacht. People are going to start taking trips on this thing at discounted prices, courtesy of the Russian Federation. But nice to see that the British seized one of these ships. And I've got to tell you, like, once again, not to go down the rabbit hole, not really into modern ship designs. That's just a personal thing on my end. I really like the older looking designs from like the 30s and the 20s, because they looked very classic, and I just like classy stuff. Well, classic stuff, not classy, but classic looking stuff. But anyways, we're now going to be moving on from London, because while that yacht's neat and it's good to know that it was seized, there is another group of boats that will be sent by the United States, and we've been hearing about these for a while, and we're finally getting more exact details. The United States will be giving brand new Mark 6 boats to Ukraine. These will not be used from our stockpile. They will be built brand new to suit the purposes of the Ukrainian Navy and then sent over there in the future. There will be 8 of them as well, and we can see a picture of, I'm supposing, a Mark 6 in general, not the one specifically made for Ukraine, but a general class of a Mark 6 ship just sailing around. And I also like the little pontoon canvas thing they have on the back that you can tell was clearly just taken off of a pontoon and then smacked onto the stern of this boat. But it's really nice looking.
Yeah, it is. And also, what was the other country that gave boats a while back?
I think it was Turkey.
Yeah, it's weird that everybody's suddenly donating boats to Ukraine like they know something else is coming.
Well, I mean, if something else is coming, these aren't going to be helping Ukraine much in the big picture. This is more for, like, coastal patrol and enforcing customs regulations and things like that. Beyond the war in Ukraine, well, even in the war in Ukraine right now, they're not useful compared to the Black Sea Fleet, so we'll probably hold them until the war is over and then send them over there, because otherwise they'll probably get destroyed on their way. But still, it is neat to know that they will be getting these and that the Ukrainian Navy will practically be rebuilt from the ground up after this war is over. And these are a very great way to start off with the Coastal Patrol class of boats and get them started off on that end. We're now going to be moving on from the United States, because the United States, of course, has been Mr. Moneybags in this war, handing out things that many other countries can't in the quantity that we can. But sadly enough, one of our best pieces of equipment and technology has already been destroyed by the Russians, and we just announced it a little while ago, and apparently one of these vehicles has already made it into Ukraine and has been destroyed by the Russians, and they have picture proof to show for it, Matthew. And I've got to tell you, it's actually mind-blowing to think that the M1 Abrams is not as good as people thought it originally was, and I was a huge fan of the Abrams. I thought it would perform incredibly well, but it came out on a Russian telegram today. And I mean, it's got to be true. And Abrams has been destroyed in Ukraine.
Yeah, that doesn't look like Ukraine.
And you're absolutely right. But the caption right here says that it was an Abrams that was destroyed in Ukraine already. The reality is that this Abrams was actually destroyed in Iraq in April of 2003. There's the picture. Also kind of weird that anyone would believe in Russia that this desert-like arid area that looks nothing like Ukraine would have an Abrams in it and also would have been destroyed. But yeah, this, and I had to show this to y'all because I have to go through my little spiel here. This is why we don't take Russian news or sources at all to try and, as some people wanted to claim earlier on in the war, to level out the picture, because there's two sides to the story. If we take the Russian side of the story, that means that the United States military is actually the Ukrainian army, and they're fighting entirely on Ukraine's behalf, and all the Ukrainians are sipping pina coladas in Tahiti or the Bahamas or something. And that's why we don't take news at all from Russian sources anymore, because this is just straight up bull. I mean, this is just stupid. Like, if I can it says our war, some American tank Abrams, and so I believe this says destroyed American tank Abrams. Let's see, EV Porgiani. I don't know what that means. Boshny, Boshi Pod. But oh my god, they said this was destroyed in like Bakhmut or Bakhmutske.
That's some serious propaganda right there.
Yeah, and like then they say down here, this is the photo, because this right here, the little weird symbol that I have my mouse cursor on right there, that's the letter F in Russia. So you say fo, like photo, and so that's how you say photograph in Russian. It's spelled like that. It's photo.
Huh.
So they said right here, this tank was destroyed in Bakhmut. Here's the picture evidence to show. And it's not even picture evidence of an Abrams that was destroyed even in the past decade. This was destroyed literally 2 decades ago at this point. And they're trying to make it sound like it was destroyed in the present day. Really stupid. And I can't believe that the Russians are so desperate and they're pulling at so many straws that they can, that they would actually try and pull a swift one. Not even a swift one, this is just a stupid one like this. Like, it's completely unbelievable, because there's nowhere arid looking in Ukraine except for the Aleski Sands Park, and they're saying that this is in Bakhmut, and currently it's covered in snow, and this picture's in a desert. I gotta tell you, the Russians in terms of their mental capacity must be as arid as this desert, because there is nothing inside of a typical Russian person's head to think that this is from Bakhmut.
That's true.
It's sad, Matthew. It's sad. And so with that, we're now going to be... Also, Candido Torres said what the Russians probably say, well, actually, the snow falls 10 in Ukraine due to Stalinism, so it's actually snow. Believe it. That's probably what they're trying to say. But anyways, we're now going to be moving on from the Russian propaganda, because it's always fun to look at what the Russians are trying to push as true and real news. And we don't need to do that on this channel, thankfully, because the Ukrainians beast on the Russians well enough that there is just enough video footage to show for it. But with that, we're now going to be moving on from all of the international news today, because we did cover it all. I always zoom out right then to double check that we did. And so with that, we're now moving on into Ukraine and on into the location unknowns, because we have a really interesting one to start off with today, where we saw a Russian try that old grab the grenade and throw it back trick that you always see in the movies. Now, everyone always says when a grenade falls in front of you, either jump on it to save your buddies, or quick, pick it up and throw it back. And watch what happens when you really try to pick up a grenade and throw it back, because it doesn't really help you out, and it doesn't really help out anyone around you. So we're going to mute this, but when you see the Russian right there, we see the drone flying over, we can see him looking into the little foxhole, we see them scurrying around, there goes the F1 grenade, it falls right into the dugout. This guy, why would he try to pick that up? Why? Look, it had like a whole 5 seconds before he even got there. Look. It falls right there. This guy goes, oh, bleh. And this guy goes, wait, I can grab it. And he looks down at it right
Oh my God.
How stupid. He should have just run. That would have been the smart thing to do at that point, is to run. Just in case if y'all are wondering, can't you throw a grenade back? Yeah, you can, but it's like Russian roulette, but without the whole revolver thing, because a grenade's fuse is not always constant. A grenade will explode anywhere in between 3 to 5 seconds on an American grenade from the pin being pulled. So it could blow up in 3 seconds, or it could blow up in 5 after you throw it. There really is no way to tell, because each one's fuse just burns a little bit quicker or slower than the other. So don't sit there if you're ever going to go into a war and try and pick up a grenade and throw it back, because you may be the unfortunate person who picks up the short fuse grenade, and then you end up like this guy, like some kind of Looney Tunes thing where your face is all black and your mouth is spun around to the back of your head because you looked down at a grenade and it blew up right on you.
Yeah, and the Russians don't know anything about how long the fuse is, so they were really stupid for running up on it like that.
Yeah, you know what I'm wondering, with an F1 grenade, fuse time on F1 grenade, not a car, an F1 grenade, 3.5 to 4 seconds. So it's a little bit of a shorter difference in time, but that is a very small amount of time to react to something landing near you. And also, the pin was already pulled and the fuse was already burning as it was flying through the air. Like if it's a normal infantryman flinging a grenade at you. So by the time it lands near you, you probably have like a second and a half or just a second to look down and realize you're screwed, or to start running. So it's not smart at all to get near these things. If you ever see one, just run from it. That's the smartest thing to do. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from...
It really gets your head spinning thinking about that. No pun intended.
It really does get your head spinning thinking about that. It really does. And I've got to say, I wonder if he saw the light.
Saw the light?
Yeah. I think he did. Maybe a couple of little chunks in it too. But with that, we're now going to be moving on into the next bit of location unknown news, where we saw some footage of those BMPT Terminators that for some reason disappeared, but they're back now. This is almost like that cheap storyline writing in one of the new Star Wars movies, where some guy said somehow Palpatine returned, although he clearly died in one of the earlier movies. This is about what the BMP Terminator's like, because they pulled them out of Ukraine entirely around 5 months ago, and now for some reason they're just magically back. So here's the video. We see the BMPT Terminator firing. Oh, it knocked the camera down. So essentially what we're watching here is two BMP-2s firing at the same... Wait a minute. Hold the phone. Do you notice that only one of these guns is firing?
Wait a minute. Play it again.
Only one of them's firing.
I think it might be both. I think the frame rate might not be catching the second one.
Nah, it's only one because that rate of fire is a single barrel. I mean, we saw video footage of two of them firing the other day. Let me go back. Well, actually, we'll just watch it a little bit longer because I'm sure I'm seeing this right. Only one gun's working.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, see, like, also, the ejector is only ejecting shells from the one gun. It's not ejecting on the other side as well.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
So what we're watching here is a single BMP-2's worth of firepower being fired at a building. So one of the guns isn't even working right now. I don't know if there's some kind of setting in the turret to turn one gun off or the other, but that is really weird. See, yep, I'm right, because they're only ejecting from the one gun. The other one isn't working. Okay, there we go. There's both of them. Now both of the guns are firing, and you can hear the difference. Wait a minute, I still think just the one is firing because they're still not ejecting from the left side of the turret. And I always love the turn around and show the weakest part of the tank trick before they drive off. They have to do it every single time to see if they can catch that lucky Stugna shot that'll go clean through the engine, right into the crew compartment, blow up the ammo, kill the crew and everything. They always got to try that each time. Oh, look, it just fired an ATACMS. It just fired two ATACMS. I'm sorry, not ATACMS, it's ATACAs. Sorry. So that's the end of the clip. But when you see that, apparently, I still couldn't tell at the end. It sounded like the rate of fire increased, but we can only see that one gun was still ejecting ammo. So I'm thinking that one of the guns was either broken or not working, and then we saw it fire off ATACAs and do the typical retreat off the field by, turning around entirely and then just moving on. A little weird in my opinion. I know some people are saying, well, they turned the turret around to cover their retreat. That doesn't make a lot of sense, though, because this thing does have reverse gears. It can go about 4 miles per hour at top speed in reverse. Why not just start reversing slowly away with the thickest part of the frontal armor facing the enemy and continue to keep your turret pointed that way? That seems, to me, to be the most intelligent way to move off the field while making sure the tank doesn't get blown up. But I'm not going to let the Russians do what they do, because they don't lose thousands of tanks by being smart. They lose it by being stupid like this. Also, y'all heard me say ATACMS. It's actually an ATACA missile. I'll show y'all right here. These are the 9M120 ATACAs. That's what I'm talking about. And it's really hard to get that mixed up with ATACAs and ATACMS. Because all you have to do is switch one letter at the very end of it, and then you're saying one or the other. But the Russians have a missile called the ATACA. These are usually used on helicopters, but in modern day, I guess I could say upgrades to things like the BMP, they put these on the side of the turret, and that's where you get the BMP-2M and also the BMP-T Terminator. And I'll show you the BMP-2M, just to show y'all, just to make sure we keep it in memory. There's the Atakas on the side of a BMP-2M's turret, and then the BMP-T Terminator right here. Once again, like you could see in the video, you see the Atakas mounted to the side of the turret. So really, over the firepower of a BMP-2M, hypothetically, the only thing that this is adding is another 30mm autocannon, because a BMP-2M can carry the exact same amount of firepower as a BMP-T Terminator, and both of them can get destroyed in a single shot with a Stugna. So there's really no difference, rather than this thing's a whole lot more expensive and a whole lot more overcomplicated for what kind of weapons it has. With that, we're now going to be moving on from that little side shoot, because I messed up by saying attackums, and we're now going to be moving on into the next bit of Location Unknown news, where we saw that due to the cold in the northern areas of Ukraine, we couldn't really tell where this was on the north, so it got thrown to Location Unknowns, that a Ukrainian tank crew was doing a little bit of engine warming. I call this a very heated tank start, and I think you'll see why. That's the bottom of the tank, and we can see a nice fire lapping up from the underside. It's looking smoky. It's looking warm.
In the world.
And you're seeing
Now that might be the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, lighting a fire under a tank. So they're trying to heat the engine block up to start it?
They're trying to heat up everything pretty much at the rear of the tank, the fuel tanks, the engine block, all of it, so that way it can eventually start, because apparently it's all frozen over.
Huh, that's definitely different.
Not that bizarre, though, because back in Korea, back during the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir and other engagements during the entirety of the Korean War, U.S. tank crews would usually gather up dozens of Bunsen burners and put them under the Shermans and the Pershings and just keep those things on and pretty much just burn the bottom of the tank until the engine block unfroze itself and also the pipes did, and then the tank would hopefully start running again. So it's not that wild, it's just weird to see that they're just starting like an actual like fire under the tank, instead of something like a Bunsen burner or anything similar. But
I mean, what prevents it from blowing up like that?
I think they're sitting there and they're probably giving it like 5 minutes in between startups, and they attempt to start it up again, and then they attempt to start it up again. And as soon as the tank starts up, they roll it off of the fire, so that way it doesn't continue to just sit there and boil the fuel until it catches on fire and explodes. But yeah, that's a good question. Hopefully they don't blow the thing up. And also I see some people saying, that's dumb. It's not that dumb, because everyone in the world has done this in very odd places. Like whenever it gets freezing, this is kind of just what people do, is that they start fires under engines and hope that it eventually unfreezes them. But it is still somewhat dangerous, but at least you have the state of the engine being frozen that'll help you out and make sure that you don't really blow the whole thing up. But still,
they'd have like an engine block heater or something like built into the tank for that. I never figured this would be a problem.
Matthew, this is a Soviet-era tank. The idea of putting anything extra into this tank beyond the bare necessities is absolutely asinine to the Soviets who designed this thing. Like, this thing doesn't...
Do the Leopards have a heater built into the engine?
I wonder if they do. Let's pull that up. Do Leopard tanks have engine heaters? The Leopards do have a preheat system for the engines that is routed through the vehicle heater as well as the battery preheat. So yes, they do.
And it looks like does maybe the T90 has it too?
Let's see.
According to Quora.
Let's see here. Why in the world does it only... I don't know how Quora works, because it'll show this and then it doesn't ever show actual answers to that question. It just shows other prompts.
Well, I tell you, that was a huge oversight. Not shockingly on the Soviets' parts for not like thinking about that. Having a lot of fire under a tank is not desirable, I would say.
Yeah, also, look at this one, Matthew. I don't know when this was posted right here, but it says the Leclerc, Leopard 2, and Challenger 2 are looking at being upgunned to face the threat of the T-14 Armada. So how come America hasn't followed suit? Is America falling behind? What
the? Who wrote this question? Oh my God.
Man, you know, the foresight of 2023 and 2022 gives us enough to know that these tanks are still way better than the T-14 can ever be. But anyways, the Western tanks do have preheating systems for the engine. Russian tanks don't. And so they just suffer. So with that, you can see that the Ukrainians are having to still battle this, and hopefully as they get more and more modern Western tanks, this won't be something they have to go through the process of doing every morning, which is setting a fire under their tank and waiting for it to unthaw. So with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little clip of Location Unknown News, and on into our next bit, where we saw a Rossiyski tank blow up. That's a nice song, but sadly it is copyright to hell and back, so we gotta mute that. We can see the artillery shell landing right on top of the vehicle, and now we can see the vehicle catching on fire. Man, that thing is roasting. You know, I wonder, Matthew, with how much Russian tanks get roasted, how come they're not, like, doing good? You know, because usually the kids that get roasted in school are the ones that, you know, they go a little crazy. How come these tanks never go crazy? You know, they get roasted all the time, but they are absolute pushovers at the same time. Very, very odd to me. Very, very odd. But once again,
I'm going to stay away from that joke.
once again, another T-72 that has been roasted to all hell and back. And we're now going to be moving on from that clip and on into the next one, our second to last one, where we saw a Ukrainian kamikaze drone at work. Also, someone said, where's the turret? Alabama Cajun, what you were actually watching in that clip was the turret itself. And I'll go back to show you because this is actually kind of cool. Sometimes the ammo inside the tank that burns does not violently explode. And we can see here it didn't, because you can see two separate fire streams coming out of the tank. Right here, you can see one to the left and one to the right. And those are the hatches at the top of the turret. So let me show you on a T-72 what that would look like. T-72 tank. Let me go over here. And you are looking at, let me try and find you a good picture that shows the top of the tank. Here we go. This is about the best we'll get. This is a cupola. There's another little hatch over here that's doesn't have a cupola, but it's the gunner's hatch. And you're watching the fire from the ammunition blowing through the hatches, opening them up, and then shooting out like little fire tornadoes. That's what you're watching right there. So that's where the turret is. It's actually still attached. So that's actually kind of cool. But now we're moving on into the kamikaze drone. You can see the little RPG head mounted to the bottom of it on the camera. I don't know what that is, but hey, you know, if it is what it is. We can see this thing flying right up to a BMP, and wow. An RPG couldn't have done it better. They took the RPG-7 shell, guided it, and slammed it right into the engine bay of a BMP-2. Not bad at all. Very good accuracy with this drone, and that is definitely a BMP-2 wiped out. Now, it probably didn't get the crew. It definitely did take out the engine, so the crew was probably able to abandon this BMP-2, but the tank burned down because I think the fuel tank is pretty much right where they're hitting. Or, if I remember correctly, it may actually be in the back of the tank on a BMP-1 or a BMP-2. It may be in the crew compartment, which is also kind of funny. But anyways, it did take out that BMP, and that thing is going to burn down. A nice shot overall. And speaking of nice shots, the Ukrainians have been landing those nice shots all day long once again, as the Russian loss report came out, and they are definitely losing a lot of guys. Another 800 Russian soldiers have been killed again today. An entire BTG's worth of soldiers has been wiped out, and that's an approximation. It could be a little bit lower, it could be a little bit higher. We also saw another 4 armored personnel carriers getting wiped out today, once again, significantly high, and we saw 26 supply trucks get completely floored. Well, this is the highest number I think we've seen in a very long time, probably several months, and this is starting to show that once again, the Russian supply lines are becoming a priority target for Ukrainian forces, and they are trying to take out as many supply trucks as possible to knock out the ability for Russian forces at the front to keep on fighting. Without ammunition and food, a unit is practically dead already. We can see another 7 tanks were destroyed today as well, with 8 artillery systems, 6 drones. In MLRS, we didn't see any get destroyed yesterday, but they did make up for that today. And we also saw another helicopter and an aircraft get shot down once more. Very high losses in every single category for the Russian armed forces today, and also the Russian Air Force. And I think that we'll be seeing that the Russians will be panicking here in the future. Having a plane shot down every single day continuously is really going to start making a toll on the Russian forces. And let me go to -rus.com real quick. -rus.com. We'll go here. But they actually have the percentage of all combat aircraft the Russians have. And how many have been shot down? Oh my! 55% of Russians' armed forces have been killed or wounded, according to minusrus.com. We don't really know where they're getting the wounded figure from. I believe they're trying to go off of some kind of a calculated percentage of wounded to killed, because I don't know where wounded numbers are coming from, but we can see down here in the aircraft section the additional +1 today, and out of that, and wait a minute, hang on, 1,379, one second, Russian Air Force aircraft. Let me go here. Let me go to Wikipedia. Let's scroll down. All right, so these right here, the attack aircraft and the multi-role aircraft, are really the only ones that matter, and then add in the bombers too. So just glossing over this, I'm gonna real quick. Everyone, bear with me for a minute because I want to make sure we report things as accurately as possible. So let me add up all the multi-roles, the attack aircraft, and the strategic bombers, and we'll see what that totals. Because for some reason I'm feeling like it's less than 1,347, and those are the numbers that really count. So 87 plus 90 plus 6 plus 101 plus 110 plus 147 plus another 110. Plus, we're not adding the Su-57s. They don't actually exist really. 273 plus 192, and then we move on down here to the bombers, plus 62 plus 42 plus 15. So our number comes up, including the strategic bombers, including the attack aircraft, and including the multi-roles, it only comes up to 1,235, and so I do not know where they're getting the additional 150 or so. That is a little high, and I think that that needs to be adjusted to just include the actual combat aircraft that can be used by the Russian Air Force, because things like the Antonov 22, the Ilyushin 76, rather than the occasional exception where one or two of them were shot down at the beginning of the war, they don't really count because they're not contributing anything to this war. They're unusable by Russian forces, and we only care about the fighting aircraft that can actually inflict losses on the Ukrainian armed forces if allowed to do whatever. So going off of that, that means the loss number percentage-wise is more so around 23 or 24%, and that is significant. That is 1 out of every 4 Russian combat aircraft in their air force have been shot down and destroyed at this point. That is incredibly high, and not only that, it's near 30% for their helicopter forces, and that also includes their transports as well, most likely. That's not looking good either. That means that 1 out of every 3 helicopters has been destroyed. And if the Russians continue to have losses like these, I would suspect that we're not going to see a existing Russian Air Force after this war the way it did before. You won't see the Russians being so brazen to buzz American air ships at sea or anything like that, or try and test their airspace, because their Air Force is practically going to have to be built from the ground up. Probably around a quarter of all the aircraft shot down have also gone down with their pilot, and the pilot's been killed, so they're going to have to retrain pilots, which takes a long amount of time. They're also going to have to retrain helicopter pilots. They're going to have to build brand new ones, which is almost going to be impossible due to the sanctions, because the sanctions are actually hurting them where it counts. So we're probably going to see a very different Russian Air Force and a really different Russian helicopter force by the end of this war. Also, another thing, and we don't really talk about this much anymore, but I think this is crucially important, we can see it's not even on minusrus.com, is the losses of supply trucks. Now, we used to go over the figures for the supply trucks religiously each and every day, and that was because the war was incredibly mobile, and depending on how mobile each day was, dictated how much supplies the Russians would need. And we've seen that as the war's gone on, and as the supply truck numbers went from the hundreds to the thousands to the multiple thousands, we've noticed that Russian offensive abilities have shrunk. We once, at one time, to remind you all, saw that the Russians were conducting offensives all the way from the area of Kyiv, wrapped around the country's eastern border and southern border, and all the way down to Mykolaiv. Every single part of that front line was moving, active, and being supplied in some way, shape, or form, although it was barely in every part. And we can see that as the war has gone on and we've entered the 11th and 12th month, the war has practically limited itself, and the Russians' ability has limited itself to this one small area in Bakhmut. That's really the only area they're fighting in. There is a small onslaught going on in the area of Vuhledar, which is pretty much just a human wave assault, trying to see if they can break the Ukrainians somehow. But outside of that, this is the only area that is active in all of Ukraine. And it went from like an 800-mile long front line to now we see like a 30-mile long front line. And that shows you how badly they're doing supply-wise. They can't think of a serious offensive occurring in the south, although they declared one a little while ago, because they don't have the supply ability for that. The best they have is to conduct one offensive on the town of Vuhledar, which is one of the smallest towns on that part of the front line, and they've got to hope to break it or bust. They can't do anything in the northeast because also due to the terrible weather conditions up there, which has made fighting practically impossible for both sides, they don't have the supply ability anyways to keep those forces running, so they're just sitting there. That's how the entire front line is developed, and so looking at another 26 Russian supply trucks lost today, most likely with their supplies inside the vehicles, we're looking at probably over 100 tons of Russian supplies destroyed, maybe even 200 tons of Russian supplies straight up destroyed on the trucks alone, along with the 26 trucks, which are practically irreplaceable. The Russians, although I will say this, the Russians probably do have the ability to build more supply trucks. That is something that is simple enough for them to do. But that depends on Russian industry being there and Russian manufacturers being able to produce these things, pay employees to work there, and also have somehow the funding to do that. And they might not. So this is all a big what if, especially on the supply side of things. But going off their initial supply truck figures at the beginning of the war, how many they've lost, and how badly they're doing, and how small of an area that they're operating in now, we know one thing for certain. The Russian supply situation is completely disintegrated. They can't operate anything beyond the smallest of offensives. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that casualty report and on into the northeastern area, where of course we pretty much only have Kreminna to cover. But before we get to that, Matthew's been running those absolutely killer polls. The polls have been incredible tonight, and I have to say, I'm sure that a lot of y'all want to hear about them because a lot of y'all voted on them. Thousands of y'all voted on each of them. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right. So real quick, let me grab that one other bot right there. There we go. It looks like we've got some Iran bots tonight. I was warned by some folks to look out for them, and it looks like they have arrived. So thanks for letting me know. But anyways, we have 3 polls to address, and the first one says, who do you think attacked Iran with drones? It looks like 58% think it's Israeli forces, 14% said Iranian revolutionaries, 6% said Ukrainian forces, and 22% said unsure. Now, it must be disclaimed from the start that nobody knows who attacked who at this point. It's all speculation, so these are just guesses. But I would have to say, I'm going to say unsure until we know. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that I think I honestly couldn't answer that poll, really. I have no idea who it would be, and considering that all of y'all put a lot of faith into what we say, I don't really want to say who it could be. It could be practically anyone who's committing these attacks against Iran right now, so I really don't want to make that that a clear statement unless if we have some clear proof or a clear statement from someone else saying who really did it. So for right now, I'm going to have to say I'm undecided on that one, but what did everyone think on that again?
Let's see. It looks like 58% said Israeli forces, 14% said Iranian revolutionaries, and 6% said Ukrainian forces. One thing I will say real quick is I doubt it was Iranian revolutionaries because I seriously doubt they'd have the drones to do that. And for Ukraine to do it, I don't know if they're going to send something that far. And also, I'm not sure why they would want to do something like that and expand to Iran, which really wouldn't make any sense. But Enforcer, what were you going to say?
I'm gonna agree with you. I don't think any of those I can't say anything about that. I don't really think most of those parties have the means to do anything. And I know that the Ukrainians didn't somehow fly a drone over Crimea or over Russia or through the Black Sea into Turkey and then over into Iran to hit those targets. So I'd highly doubt that. And I'd highly doubt that the Ukrainians would want to officially draw Iran into the war by directly attacking them. So I'm not really sure who would have done that. But it's a really good question. And hopefully we'll get an answer in the future, probably by the next few days, as to who really did that and why that happened. But with that, I hope that addresses that poll the best we can. And also, thank you, Edmund, for the support. We're probably about to get to that here in a second. But with that, we are on to the next poll.
All right. And the second poll says, do you think the Iran earthquake and subsequent drone attacks are correlated in some way? It looks like 32% said, I think so. It's very strange timing. 33% said, I doubt it's related. 22% said, no, it's not even possibly related. And 13% said, unsure. Now, on this one, it's either correlated or it's simply a coincidence. And for that to be so close together, that attack plus the earthquake, my gut tells me that there's something strange about it, but I don't know enough to make a judgment yet. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say at the onset, I don't really think there is that much of a correlation to it. Let's see, 1 second. Let me ask this though. Do nuclear explosions produce seismic activity? The answer is yes, but by how much? Let's see. However, earthquakes induced by explosions have been much smaller than the explosion, and the aftershock produces fewer and smaller aftershocks. So, let's see. How big is an earthquake by an underground nuclear blast? Right now, right now, Matthew, my FBI agent, like sitting here watching everything I do every day, is like, what? Why is he pulling this up? But anyways,
Yeah.
The largest is a 3.6. So unless if the Iranians have created like the Tsar bomb, buried it underground, and blew that thing up to test it, there's no way that they could have created a magnitude 5.9 earthquake through some kind of an underground bomb, and no one else could have, because the largest that's ever been created from an underground nuclear bomb blast was a 3.6, which is actually a fairly small tremor even close to the site. So I would say that that's probably not correlated. It's just coincidence that it happened at the same time all this stuff started beginning today on the surface of Iran. And so with that, I hope that does address the poll fairly well, because I think the two things, in my opinion, are probably not related. It's just coincidence that they happen at the same time. And so with that, we are on, I believe, to our third poll. If I know Matthew right, we either have 2 polls or 3 polls, and I'm betting on 3.
And yes, there is a third one, but I will say on that last poll, I'm not necessarily conspiracy theorizing on that. It could be simply a country decided to capitalize on the chaos of the earthquake and decide to attack right afterwards. But the nuclear theory, I think that the Enforcer was mentioning, that's something that's sort of on the fringe, in my opinion, a little bit. But it could be a possibility, maybe. But anyways, the third poll says, do you think Switzerland may intend on breaking its policy of neutrality in the near future? It looks like 49% said yes, it's possible, 16% said unsure, and 35% said no, I highly doubt it. On this one, I hate to say it again, but I'm unsure because Switzerland is a very strange political situation. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say Switzerland is most likely going to remain neutral throughout the entirety of this war. It is heavily debated right now, and I'll give you all some historical context as to why I'm saying that, because I know that's a pessimistic statement. It would be great for them to support Ukraine, but there is a lot of proof that the Swiss always go through this argument in modern history, because they went through this exact same argument in the Second World War. Inside of Switzerland, there were equally large groups, at least at the beginning of the war, that supported the Nazis and also supported the Allies. And it was a constant debate within Switzerland. If we picked a side, who are we going to break neutrality to go to? And the Allies were actually the ones that the Swiss were kind of leaning towards for a little bit. And then for a little while after that, they leaned towards the fascists. And then the French got invaded, and then they kind of just dropped all of that, although the fascists still were kind of operating in Switzerland a little bit, and they started to work on the redoubt in the Alps. And then, and this is really interesting, if you'll ever hear the full story of Switzerland in the war, it's really interesting because the Swiss people are actually fairly reasonable and kind of logically deducted things in the war. As the Germans started to push further and further into the Soviet Union, the Swiss, in trying to keep neutrality, knew that they'd have to appease the Germans a little bit, or else they might invade Switzerland, and then they'd have to use the redoubt. So they sent medics, a couple of them, doctors and surgeons and such, along with the Germans, into the Soviet Union. No weapons. They had no weapons, and they were also not wearing any identifying insignia that showed they were Swiss surgeons and doctors. But while they were in Russia, these doctors and surgeons saw the atrocities that the Germans were committing against the local people on a daily basis, and when they returned to Switzerland, they actually spoke out about what the Germans were doing to Eastern Europeans there, and that killed, the Swiss government didn't come down and put down the fascist movement in Switzerland. The reports and the information that was coming out from the surgeons and doctors of Switzerland that had gone and actually helped out the Wehrmacht and helped to figure out how, in one way, to save German soldiers' lives, and in another, help improve Swiss medicine, they came back and were saying how bad the Nazis really were to the Swiss people. And so then a lot of the fascist support in Switzerland just dropped off the face of the earth. And then really the support for the Allies was the only one that remained. But the Swiss government did try to make that very quiet because they're not surrounded by the Allies. They're surrounded on every single side by an Axis power. So they didn't really want to get invaded or have to go into some kind of a bloody war and lose half the country for probably years on end. But that's kind of the story. But once again, the whole point of me saying that story is that back then it was a huge argument as to whether the Swiss should break their neutrality and if they should pick a side, and they ended up not. And I believe that they'll probably do the same thing through this war. It'll be a huge argument. It'll be a massive debate throughout all of Switzerland during the entirety of the war. Should they break their neutrality or not? And if they do, will they support Ukraine? Well, that's not even a question. They do support Ukraine. It's just a question of whether they want to break their neutrality or not. And I just don't think they will. The Swiss haven't done it. They're probably not going to do it. And, of course, I can be wrong, and if I am wrong and we find out that they do break their neutrality, I will be incredibly impressed. I'll, of course, say that was a great job on the Swiss, but that'll also be a little bittersweet because the era of Swiss neutrality would have finally come to an end after over 200 years of solid neutrality. And so with that, I hope that does address that poll fairly well. And with that, we are on to the questions, I believe.
And yes, we are. That was our last poll. So moving on to our Super Chat questions. Up first, we have that $50 Super Chat from Hal Rose, the channel legend, who says, Enforcer, Putin is starting to look like the Wizard of Oz. Pick a question, please, and good evening.
And thank you so much for the support, and good evening to you. And I think he is starting to look a little bit like the Wizard of Oz, because, you know, I'm trying to think about how he does seem to be the Wizard of Oz. I'm really rarer than him. You know what? No, actually, no. I know what they mean now. He's, like, not really seen. He's just around, but no one really knows where he is anymore. Yes, he is the Wizard of Oz in that way. No one's seen him for weeks. Like, no one even knows what he's doing right now or where he's at. So I would definitely agree with you 100% on that. He is definitely the Wizard of Oz now. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. It helps this channel to keep on running and helps the gears to keep turning behind the scenes. And without you, this wouldn't be possible on into the future. You help us to get through each and every week by helping us to eat in the background and helping us to keep the lights on, which are, of course, incredibly important. And so with that, let's get to that live chat question.
All right, and the live chat question is going to go to, let's see, Salazar, who says, Enforcer, could the earthquake be related to a subterranean nuclear test in Iran, followed in less than 12 hours by multiple strikes to their weapons development programs?
A very good question, and the answer to that I can give right now, and this may be wrong, is that it's highly unlikely. The largest earthquake that's ever been produced by a subterranean nuclear explosion was a magnitude of a 3.6. And the idea of the Iranians testing a nuclear weapon, meaning that it will probably be an incredibly small yield nuclear weapon, and it causing a 5.9 magnitude earthquake would be highly unlikely. Nuclear tests, when you are starting a nuclear program, you usually want to use the smallest amount of resources as possible, so the megaton or the kiloton yield of that test explosive will be quite small, and it's just there to try and prove the formulas and the theories behind the nuclear weapons and to make sure that when you scale them up, they will work. So the idea of it being a 5.9 earthquake from a Iranian nuclear test, highly unlikely, but it's not out of the question. But I would say that it is really weird, and I'll say this again, because while I don't think the two are correlated, it's really bizarre that they had an earthquake and then factories started blowing up all over the country within the same day. That's just really bizarre to me. But with that, I hope we answered that live chat fairly well, because I don't think that earthquake was caused by a subterranean nuclear test. And so with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you so much once again for the support and sponsoring that live chat question and helping us to keep this thing running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a super chat from Panama Floyd, who puts in at 20 and says, I still have the Daytona 24-hour on the other pane, though. might get distracted. Most modern sports cars don't have loose springs. And that's all right.
That's true. That's true. I thank you for the support, though. And it is true. Most modern sports cars don't have leaf springs, sadly. But you know one that does? You know one that does? What's the name of that car, Matthew? It's a 1929 Mercedes Benz.
You're talking about the one you looked at the model?
Yes, it was like that.
Oh, there it is.
I don't think that's it. Well, I mean, it is. It just has the fenders on it, though. Let's see.
That's it.
Oh, man, that thing's beautiful. Matthew's just quiet. He's like, nah, it's ugly. I think it looks
I'm
really
trying to
good.
catch up with the live chat over here.
Let's see. Let me take a look at this thing. Oh, I don't like that one. That just looks like a Model A, like a redone Model A. That doesn't look that good. Like, you have to have that thing open-topped if you want it to look good. That one looks really good. And I think, yeah, there's the leaf spring. You can see it right there. My mouse cursor's on it. There are leaf springs on that one. But
It sure is.
But sadly, not on modern cars. There are no leaf springs on modern cars. There should be, though, but there isn't. It's a really sad day for the auto industry that leaf springs just aren't on those modern high-performance sports cars like there is in NASCAR. But there are some that are still around. You know, there's on a decent amount of normal cars and trucks there are, and that's what we found out after everyone flamed me that night for getting that wrong. And, you know, I should have just taken a page out of someone else's playbook and just started cussing people out, like, fervently for about 5 minutes. I'm just kidding. We're always, whenever I say that, I just want y'all to know this. We're not seriously saying that. I'm just saying that because it's a joke in between Matthew and me. But anyway, and also that joke's based off of something we saw somewhere else, and we're like, oh my god, we can't believe that someone would do that to, like, people who are, like, saying something, and he's, anyways, but that is a nice looking car, and it does have leaf springs on it, but the modern ones don't. Also, wait a minute, the NASCAR race is going on during this stream? Why didn't they call us and schedule that in advance to make sure that there wasn't conflicting schedules? That's ridiculous. But anyways.
Man, the enforcer's lost his mind. I can't believe it.
Man. But anyways, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope you're enjoying watching the races and also this channel. I don't know how you can multitask like that, but if you are, good job on you. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope we addressed that comment fairly well. And also, long live the Leaf Spring Army. And so with that, we are on to the last question of this question segment, and then we're going to be getting right back into the news.
All right, and the last one goes to Psyops, who puts in a $20 donation and says, hey Matt, hey Matt, hey Matt, hey Matt, what's annoying mean, question mark. I had to skip that part. He says, muhaha, and Texas stinks, and Psyops almost had me again, but Psyops, thank you very much for the support. And also, in honor of that, once the enforcer comments on it, we'll take a question from the live chat.
And of course, thank you so much for the support, Psyops. It's always funny that you're harassing Matthew, and I highly encourage people to harass Matthew. It always gives everyone a good laugh on Matthew's expense. I'm sorry, Matthew. Here it comes in a minute. I know we have someone in here, Matthew, tonight. His name starts with a D, it ends with a VR, and he made an animal noise live chat during the 10-minute countdown to me, and so I know it's coming soon. But I'm just preparing.
I vote for enforcer harassment. I want to see what y'all can do.
No one can harass me because they just ask for voice impersonations. I actually like doing them, so it's like a win-win. But hey, you know, maybe we'll find out. Maybe, I don't know. But with that, thank you so much once again for support, Psyops, and helping this channel to keep on running. You are not only one of our moderators and helps us out in the live chat a pretty good deal in promoting that like button, which you'll also should hit, and also the subscribe button, which you'll also should hit as well if you're watching for the first time or haven't subscribed yet. And of course, you have been a really funny guy and a long-time channel viewer, an old guard as a matter of fact. And so with that, let's get a live chat, and then we'll move on into the next segment.
All right, and this live chat goes to Aaron Walters, who says, did you hear about the helicopter crash land in Russia today that Putin uses?
I didn't hear about that. Let's type that in. Russian helicopter crash today. So this is from Newsweek. Is there a video? That's loading.
I bet an ad's coming.
Yep, it's an ad. TurboTax. Ew, I hate how this stupid thing's moving. It's moving from each second. It's like 7, 8, 9. Why is it not moving continuously? That's just ugly. That's not that. That's the Ukrainian helicopter, and they're showing a video of that to talk about the Russian one that supposedly crashed. I don't know about that.
Are they saying that the helicopter that crashed in Ukraine with the Ukrainian officials on it was the same model of helicopter used in Moscow?
No, because they say right here it was an Mi-8.
This news article is all messed up.
This news article is messed up beyond belief, so we can't take that one seriously. What about arrow time? Continue without agreeing. That's the option we want. They always put that one up in the corner where you really can't see it. But that's the one that supposedly crashed right here. Also like how the United States president flies around in a really nice-looking, beautiful, painted Sea King or something similar, or an Osprey, and then Putin just gets this ugly, nasty, decrepit-looking Mi-8 that the military uses, and they just painted the Russian flag on the side. I like that. I like that. But we can't see any pictures or proof of the crash. All we're hearing is that it may have crashed. So fairly interesting. Helicopter crash during landing, resulting in several casualties, but we're not getting any extra information out of it. Wait a minute. The Special Flight Detachment Rossiya is a company that operates a fleet of VIP aircraft used for transporting Russian government officials, including the country's president, Vladimir Putin. That's how crappy the military is in Russia, that they've outsourced the government vehicles and their transportation of the highest government officials in the country to a third-party company.
It's like when you see people on like social media and they'll be like bragging about a Ferrari, and it turns out the Ferrari's leased. It's like the same thing. It's like they rented it for the weekend.
Here in my garage, just bought this brand new Lamborghini. But you know what I like better than my Lamborghini? Knowledge. That's why I bought this giant bookshelf back here. You know what Putin's like? You know what I like better than security? Cheapness. That's why I outsourced our government transport to some third-party company that somehow may have gotten government officials killed today. That's knowledge. Man, what a joke. Imagine the U.S. president getting on, like, Uber helicopter to be transported around. What an embarrassment. Jeez, man. Seriously. I didn't even know that that's how they actually did that. But with that, I hope that answers that live chat fairly well. We can't find any picture or video evidence of that crash, but it appears that it was reported on a little bit. And if we can find more about it, we will be reporting on that tomorrow. But thank you for bringing that up. We will look into that a little bit more after the stream. And with that, it's now time for us to move on into the Northeast and on into the Kreminna news. Of course, going over the past 24 hours, it is obligatory that I do this. Over the past 24 hours, nothing has changed at all. They've adjusted the front line here. It looks like the Russians have actually moved back into Dobrova, according to Deep State, and also they've done a little bit of editing back here to show that the Ukrainians reclaimed this little bit of land as well. And I don't know why they just haven't filled in this area yet, because they did retake that. They just haven't edited that part of the map yet. Beyond that, nothing much has been going on in the northeastern area, and we saw today two little video clips that came out of Kreminna. First was a Russian position getting obliterated by a crab, because if anything does the job, it is crabs. Crabs will kill you eventually. And also that music will, too. We can see a pretty big boy Russian supply truck driving off. The video is now having to load. And as it continues to drive off, an artillery shell lands right beside it, most likely causing some damage. You know, I wonder, Matthew, if Phil Swift ever watches these videos and just sits there and goes, "Man, that's a lot of damage." But you know how I fixed this damage?
Phil Swift.
Flex Seal.
I think this is the one thing that Flex Seal's not going to fix.
Nah, Flex Seal isn't going to fix this. I sawed this Russian in half.
Oh.
Oh, man. Oh, but that's the end of the clip. And they got blasted again by the crabs. So, I gotta say, everyone loves the crabs. I'm just wondering, Matthew, I hope that one day the Ukrainians do this joke. They paint Mr. Krabs on the side of a crabs.
Oh, yeah, that would be something.
Wait, hang on, I can't do a plankton. I'm trying to figure out something here. SpongeBob, me boy. I've blown away an entire Russian platoon. But with that, we're going to be moving on into the next clip of news from Kreminna, where we saw the Mountain Brigade, or as we call them, the Green Mountain Boys, hitting the Russians once again in their little trench work. Oh, that's Chad music. But he's... That's a lot of them. So we got to mute that.
Where's the horse at?
Peter, the horse is here.
The horse must have ran off.
It must have. And with that, that's the end of the clip. And I think that one of the Russians that ran away, he's trying to find the horse right now to bring it back. And as soon as he does, Matthew, he's going to look at one of the Russian soldiers named Pyotr. He's going to say, Pyotr, the horse is here. And that guy's going to say, kill me now. Save me the trouble. But anyways, we're now going to be moving on from Kreminna and on further down the lines. Of course, not much to report from the Belorivka and Verkno-Kamyanka area. And we're now moving into the northern flank of the Bakhmut front, where, of course, today, things have been happening. There's been some booting, there's been some scooting, and it looks like the Russians have moved a little bit into Vuhledar right here. So that's fairly interesting. They were able to move across the street, so they're making a lot of progress for 800 guys killed. For the Russians, this is like light speed right here. For people in the West, this is like pigeon mail or horse or like the Pony Express or whatever. Anyways, let's watch the Russians get blown away in this area for that small gain of land that they've gotten today. Like this Russian Gyansen that got blown away. Ooh, right on top of them, ratatouille, ratatouille, and I think these guys,
Jaga,
jaga, jaga, boof. I think these guys are going to be visited by Ratatouille, Matthew, because if one thing we know, Ratatouille is a foodie, and I think that they just got a whole bunch of brand new food out there, like you know, like kibbles and bits and things, you know.
They probably need a rat to yank on their hair to lead them around because they can't make a good decision to save their life.
Oh, man. You know, wouldn't that be funny if you took a Russian soldier's helmet off and there was a rat under there, like, yanking on his hair the whole time? Oh, man. Anyways, I don't think...
If only that was the case and they could explain away the stupidity.
Oh, man, if only, if only. But sadly, that will never be the case. The Russians just are that stupid. We're now going to be moving on into the next bit of news from inside of Vuhledar, where we saw more Russian forces getting hit from here. Oh man, and the music is bussing. Also, I'm sorry that this video is only around 5 frames a second. This is just how the video came. But we can see Russians running out of a burning building. And you know, usually there's a phrase that's been said that you're so stupid you can't even run out of a burning building. But it appears that stupidity goes a little bit lower than that, and even if you are as dumb as the Russians, you can run out of a burning building. But now we can see them all grouping up outside. I love how the Russians, like, run from one dangerous situation and put themselves in a much more dangerous situation. Like, let's run out of the burning building into the wide open and then group up, because this can't hurt us. I mean, see,
They could be adrenaline junkies or something. They just run from one fire to the next.
Hi guys, I'm Igor and welcome to Jackass. Today we're going to be running out of a burning building and oh wait a minute,
hang on. What name sounds like Steve-O but in Russian?
Let's see.
Russian form of Steve. Russian name for Steve. Stiv.
Stivo.
Hi guys, I'm Stivo, and today, welcome to Jackass. We're going to be running out of the burning bunker and right under a drone, and we're going to see if we can survive dodging the bomblet that's going to fall from it.
Let's see, the bunker's still burning. We can see their little trench right there. Wait a minute. Oh, someone else is getting hit over here. Well, what about this one? Oh, they got hit again. Yeah, they got hit.
Man, talk about coke.
Oh, wait, I can't say that on YouTube.
Definitely don't say that.
I was about to go all Stivo up in here, but sadly, I can't say that on YouTube, although we do keep a PG up in here. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on into the next bit of news from the Vuhledar area, way behind the lines, where we, of course, saw another HIMARS firing off its missiles in the hopes of hitting Russian targets. I don't think we should say in hopes, though, because these are hitting Russian targets. They literally pinpoint them out with these missiles, but here's the clip. Quick, Matthew, make a wish! And with that,
I
that's
got no wishes to make.
Man, my wish already came true. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And nice to see that the Russians are once again going to get blown away by the HIMARS. La 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 HIMARS. And so with that, we're now moving on to our last clip from the northern flank, where we saw more Russian soldiers getting hit. Hey, you know, Matthew, while I was doing that Steve-O impersonation, I was thinking it sounded a lot more like someone else.
Who might that be?
The CDC.
Oh, no.
I'm not even going there. Y'all get what I'm getting at, though. Wow, that was a really messed up version of that song. When you see the bomblet fall, it hit the Russian dead on. He now falls back into the trench. He's crawling like a baby. When you see someone trying to help him out, this is one of the first times we've seen a Russian try and help him out. He gets hit, then he falls to the ground as well. And now he's doing what the manual says, and he's just going to start rolling. Oh.
How they magnified that for us?
Oh, yeah, they did the super zoom slow-mo replay like they do in the Super Bowl. I think we're going to have to move on from this one, but y'all get the picture. They got. And so with that, interestingly enough, I only watched the first 20 seconds to see what would happen, and I saw the bomblet fall near him. I didn't know that happened to him, though. But we're now going to be moving on from that little clip, and we're now moving on into the area of Bakhmut. And I have to go to this one first thing off today because we got another update. It's been a couple of days since we've gotten an actual update from the Witch or the Man of Bakhmut. We didn't get an update from the Witch today, so all of you thirsty simps for the Witch will just have to keep on being thirsty and simping, because for now, we have the Man from Bakhmut giving the update on what's going on in the area. And so, here's the summary.
Що за ситуація наразі по Бахмуту? По Бахмуту мав розмови сьогодні з козаками, які стоять між Бахмутом і Солідаром, з Авдіївкою, хто в Бахмуті. Ситуація наступна. Арта, міномети, авіація розбирають місто, підтягнулися ближче, як ви знаєте, що після Солідара сюди. Намагаються штурмовими групами залізти і маленькими, і не дуже маленькими, і вдень, і вночі намагаються пролізти в місто. Але зараз там заїхали одні козаки, такі дебелі, то вже зайшли в роботу. Я думаю, що там ситуація в самому місті стабілізується. Це якщо коротко. Розказувати, що там на Забахмутській собачці, чи на заводі шампанських він, де патруль сілу Лумби на Опитном. Друзі, такої інформації ніхто давати не буде, розказувати не буде. Все, що потрібно знати, що підрозділи Збройних сил знаходяться в місті Бахмуті і контролюють місто. Все. Бої проходять за околицями міста. Це, якщо коротко. І там, не пишіть в коментарях, я там на всі все одно відповідати не зможу. З району Кліщівки там лізуть, плотно лізуть, артилерія, бронетехніка, піхотою лізуть. Понятно, намагання перерізати трасу із Консташки і з району Красної Гори, звідти з обох сторон обрізати логістику. Але підрозділи там є, там всім це також відомо і нашому командуванню підрозділам, всі зусилля, які потрібно, докладаються. Це якщо коротко. Деталізувати, скажу, от у мене там такий хороший побратим в Авдіївці, за один лише епізод, за вчорашній бій, вчора що був, було знищено 2 танка і 7 бех. Этих десантні, або хто там, морська піхота, їх, чорт їх пойме, коротше, не важливо. Це, щоб ви розуміли, яка плотність боїв зараз йде. Це тільки на, це район Авдіївки, одна невеличка ділянка. Це те саме по всій Лугансько-Донецькій конгломерації. От такі бої і ті втрати, які вони, несуть, це, просто якийсь капець, абсурд. Але у них не треба шукати логіки там, і логіки там не буде, і війна ще буде тривати. То, що вони нам мобілізували, цю хвилю треба знищити, для того, щоб вже було зрозуміло, як далі будуть розвиватися події. А події розвиватися будуть чітко. То, що істерію наганяють в тому, що будуть там з усіх сторон наступи, да, таке діло, там не з умними людьми. У них задача дуже проста. Кудись залізти, намагатися пролізти, кинути на загибель пофіг стільки людей і щось где-то захватити, потім з цієї точки зрення провести переговори об окончанні війни. Вони навіть не розуміють нашої ментальності, нашого суспільства. І будуть і ракетний терор продовжувати, все. І все змусить українців, вони по-другому нас називають, для переговорів. Але всього того не буде. Дочекаємося вже нарешті, досить буде зброї, боєкомплекта. То, що обіцяли західні партнери, може ж нарешті вони все-таки поставлять в тих кількостях, які нам потрібно. І потім буде інша ситуація. Зараз тяжко, але це все треба вистоїть. І з самого початку війни було нелегко. Тому за це все не хвилюйтеся. Бахмут під українським прапором. Ми з своїм підрозділом на іншому операційному напрямку, на жаль, але я думаю, там неділька-дві і нас повернуть на Бахмут. Так що тримаємо стрій, все буде Україна, слава нації і смерть ворогам.
So that's the end of the clip, but pretty neat to see that, of course, the soldiers giving an update from the Bakhmut area. I was trying to figure out, like, how in the world did those two parts of the sentence go together, because I was about as confused as y'all probably are, but still, the Ukrainian forces are holding the center in Bakhmut, but we do see that over the course of many weeks, the Russians have slowly been making a claw around Bakhmut, and we can see that from Deep State UA. If you look right here, you can actually see both sides of this attempted encirclement finally creating themselves with Bakhmut right in the center. So just imagine it like a giant hand, like hold your hand up in front of yourself like a knife blade, and then take your thumb and your fingers and start slowly wrapping them around until you create an O shape, and that's about how the Russians are trying to move right now around Bakhmut. They're trying to take Krasnoyarsk and shahed, and once they do that, they can finally close the hand and create an O shape around Bakhmut. As long as the Ukrainians can ensure that shahed and Krasnoyarsk hold, there is no way for the Russians to finally close that hand around Bakhmut and take the city. So with that, we're now going to be moving on into the clips from the center of the front line, where we saw Russians getting shelled in some of the outskirt neighborhoods of the town. And we can hear those sick beats dropping. I'm telling you, Matthew, more sick beats are dropping here than people did from the Black Plague in the Middle Ages.
Damn.
We can see the Russians moving into the houses. And the artillery is hitting them already. I'm telling you. They don't get any respect around here, I'm telling you.
Uh-oh.
We're not going there, though. I just said that, but we're not going there.
Hey, I get no respect around here. I get no respect.
I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. When I was a kid, my parents gave me 2 toys to play with in the bathtub. A radio and a toaster. I forgot the joke, but anyways.
What?
Man, I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. Everyone always treats me like I'm crazy. I went to the psychiatrist the other day. He told me I was going crazy. I said I want a second opinion. He said, all right, you're ugly too. I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. But anyways. Oh, that was the house they were in. Like, there was a couple of them that were around the area. That one was the one we saw most of them go, and it just got hit dead on. We now see the Russians creeping through, trying to get out of there. But, oh, the round came right through the roof, right into the walkway. It looks like those guys are down and out for the count. If Joe Rogan was here, he would ask him if they had eaten elk meat. But with that, that's the end of the clip, and nice to see that the Russians once again got completely obliterated. We're now moving on from that little clip and on to our last one in the center, where we saw the Russians getting hit again. Believe it or not, that's crazy, right? Like, where in the world are these 800 kills coming from? Well, if we go through all the videos, we can see where. And so, let's check it out. We're going to mute that, but we can see a little... What the hell is that thing? A Nona? No, it's a BMD. A Nona is a BMD. It's just the SPG version. But there's the BMD. And now we're about to see that thing get hit. Man, you gotta tell you, I wonder if an artillerist in the Ukrainian artillery sits there and they're like, how accurate was your fire? He's like, I'm killing it, Jerry, killing it.
That would be something if they said that.
That would be something. I wonder if that guy's name would be like Kevin Banya. But we can see that the BMD went up in flames. And that thing's gone. And so with that's the end of the clip, but you got to give it a lot of credit right there. Those artillerists can get those shots right on the mark, right on a BMD, probably 18 miles away, and hit that thing in one shot and set that thing alight. And that is a lot of skill right there to be able to do that, especially considering that they've been doing that 12 months nonstop now, and we're still seeing them pull off that kind of level of accuracy. We're now going to be moving on from the center and on into the south, where we have 2 clips showing that the Russians are once again working on their space program. The sanctions aren't stopping them from trying to reach space. Although they can't reach it by rocket anymore, they can reach it by turret, like that one. And it was a good attempt. They made it a little ways up, but it wasn't high up enough. And we can also see that there's a couple of other tanks down here that have also tried to join the space program. It's just that although they try their best attempts, there's just no good way for them to get to space without a rocket. But they're going to keep trying because they're Russians. And if the Russians have learned anything over time, it's that their stupidity will never pay off. But at least if they believe that their stupidity will eventually pay off, it probably won't. And so with that, we're now moving on to our last clip of news from the Bakhmut area, where we also saw some Russian soldiers get hit by some Ukrainian fire. And Thunderstruck said, bots are bad today. Yeah, I know.
Man, they really are. They're heavy as hell today. I've taken out 17 now.
And now for the weather. A high chance of bot fall today. Oh, that music. Oh, well, I mean. We can see the Russians here hanging out in their trench. The drone watching them as usual. They got down, but getting down isn't going to do enough for that because that thing busted on down into their trench and then it broke it on down. I'm telling you, that artillery shell right there, man, call that thing top notch because that thing was right in the trench. I'm telling you what.
Something is there moving.
He's still moving! Send another. But with that's the end of the clip. And we can see that the Russians, once again, just aren't having a good day of it. And while we're having a high chance of bot fall here in the live chat, the Russians are getting a high chance of shell fall today out there on their part of the front. We're now going to be moving on out of the Bakhmut area. Once again, the frontline movement was not large in that area today. And we're now moving on down into Donetsk, where we saw that some Russian losses were also incurred in the Donetsk area today as well. We can hear Disney music playing as we look at the snow-covered fields of the Donetsk region. We see a Russian BMP burning with some ammunition in a trench. We can see some artillery shells exploding on top of their trenches as well. We see that BMP running over a mine again, and another BMP running over a mine. We can see one going to space. Once again, the space program is alive and well. We see the Russians running away. We're about to see that right here. Bling! Oh, did you see it, Matthew?
Wait, let's see it again. I didn't see it.
Right here, this guy. Bling!
Oh.
Oh.
That looked like familiar to yesterday's footage a little bit.
It was. This looks like a compilation of footage that's happened over the past few days, actually. And we can see the BMP still burning up on this highway. And we see another one burning up in a field. Oh, man. Just so many of them. I mean, those are all actually in the same area. Pretty much. I mean, like, when you look at that last bit of footage, there was one of them. There were the 2 others. The other one was back there somewhere, and another one was over here. All of them got destroyed. And this is heading up towards the Pisky bridge that was never completed that we saw a little while ago. Well, actually, a long time ago, about a month ago. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And nice to see that they're still knocking out the Russian armored vehicles. We're now moving out to the Donetsk area. Beyond that, the frontline footage has been somewhat sparse. And we're now moving on down into the area of Vuhledar, where we saw some Russian positions get messed up. And I'm saying messed up seriously. Here's the clip.
Russian uniforms circling about everywhere. Imagine being in that and getting hit by a fucking missile. Oosh. Turrets inside the house there. You look through the window.
Wow, look, there's the turret. You can see the gun barrel through the window.
There it is.
There it is, Governor.
And so that's the end of the clip. But hey, pretty nice. Keep it up. You know what I mean? And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from the Vuhledar area. Beyond that, nothing much has happened in the area. No frontline advances or anything like that. And so with that, it's now time for us to move on over into Kherson, where we also saw that a Ukrainian boat mission was coming back with some wounded. But even while these soldiers were wounded, their spirits were high, and they were singing the Ukrainian anthem. Pretty admirable, to say the least. You see the wounded guy here singing the anthem of Ukraine as their speedboat goes racing across the Dnipro. Man, they're actually on a nice boat. Frozen here for a second, kind of weird. Let's get forward. You see he's just hanging out. The medic is still working on him back there, using his scissors to cut away some of his uniform. And with that, that's the end of the clip, but always a huge amount of credit to the Ukrainian soldiers who continue to fight, and we can see that very few of them even have low spirits after they've been wounded. And I've got to say,
man, they ought to go get that oligarch boat, pull it right up in there, use it as a hospital ship.
Yeah, you know what they ought to do, man, is they ought to take that yacht and sail it up the Dnipro River, and just the entire time play Tokyo Drift nonstop off the sides of it, just use it as a gunship. Yes. Oh man, that would be hilarious. But anyways, we're now going to be moving on from that little clip right there, and once again, huge credit to the brave Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting there. And we're now going to be moving down to the area of Kherson, where we saw a Russian position get hit right on the edge of the river. And if I remember that song correctly, in a second they like do a breakdown of Zelensky like saying or something like that. You know, I'm gonna unmute it and see if I'm right. Alright, we'll mute it again. I gotta wait. Y'all will hear it though, I promise. Okay, we're not there yet. Is that a lifeboat?
That thing's just putting along, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That is a lifeboat. That's like a lifeboat from like a merchant ship. Okay, that hasn't happened yet. But we see
is that the Russians in there?
Yeah, we can see the Somali pirates backing their lifeboat into the dock, and now the Ukrainians have dropped a bomblet near it. That is literally a lifeboat, man. Like, that's a lifeboat off of a merchant ship.
Somebody probably told the Russians, it's a lifeboat. Get it, and you'll have life. They're like, quick, go grab it, comrade. Bring it back.
Quick.
We'll have life.
Quick, grab. The witch doctor said we have long life. We can see the Russians running around the lifeboats sitting there.
They're all going to get some life in the lifeboat.
The Russians, in that attempt to keep their lives as long as possible, have now chosen the direct successor to the death boat, the lifeboat. Little do they know that they are about to be entering the Twilight Zone, where things are not what they seem. Everything is
Welcome
the opposite.
to the death boat.
Here is Vladimir Solyevich, an absolute sad person, a pitiful man, the scrounge of the earth. And what he doesn't realize is that things aren't always the way they seem. While he may think that he's an insignificant, piddly, no-life loser, in fact, he's about to become one of the most important people in the world as he enters the Twilight Zone. My question is, why in the world did Rod Serling always have to go out of his way to make his characters sound like they were straight-up losers and idiots? Like, he always went out of his way to demean the characters before the clip. Anyways, we're going to watch this video. The bomblet exploded right behind the lifeboat. We can see another one, and this one's going to drop right on the bridge. Kaboom! Man, if the Somali pirates were in that thing, I wonder if they'd be going, look at me, I'm leaving now. Oh man, and they're getting so close. They're literally exploding under the water line, right near the boat. Oh, that one got right on top. Solid shot.
Dang, lifeboats are pretty resilient to explosions.
Well, that's what we can see from here, but oh, no,
I mean,
no,
it's doing pretty good.
no, the bridge got cracked. There's a giant crack now on the side of the bridge, and that shrapnel did go inside.
I don't know. It looks like it's doing pretty good to me. I thought the thing would have like collapsed or something.
Oh
my God.
That thing's doing pretty good to me. The whole thing's on fire. Matthew, I think
Never mind.
I think you're going to have to eat your foot on that one. Because
They timed that just like for my benefit, too.
literally, this is how this happened, Matthew. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but this is how you did it. I don't know. I think that thing's doing pretty good to me. I mean, it looks like it's in some pretty good shape. And then as soon as you got done with that one blew up. It immediately cuts to the lifeboat on fire, just floating in the middle of the river. Oh my God. That thing's not doing well. I've got to be honest with you, Matthew. That thing could be doing better.
Steamboat Willie.
But we see right there, now they're hitting the boat shack. Oh man, but that's the end of the clip, and that's gotta be the funniest thing Matthew's ever said is, I don't know, I think the lifeboat's doing pretty good to me, and while he's saying it, it cuts to it on fire and burning. But with that, or not,
I need to throw hands with the editor. They did me wrong.
they did you dirty, man. They did you dirty. So we're now gonna be going back in time in Kherson to a clip that we never saw before, where we saw a Russian T-80BV get blown up by an ATGM. Actually, I'm sorry, it was a 155mm Excalibur. Potato, it gets blown up. Here's the clip. You can see one destroyed tank. Now you can see two destroyed tanks. That one's gone. Yeah, man, everyone's getting a good laugh out of you going, I don't know, it looks like he's doing pretty good. It's a catches on fire. Oh, man, but that T-80BV is gone. And I gotta be honest, I've done goofy stuff like that, too. I'm just saying pick on Matt because, you know, it's all in good fun and a joke and stuff.
Well, no, but seriously, that lifeboat actually was holding up pretty good for like the first like few bomblets until like somehow like I guess an hour later they jumped ahead and then it was on fire by then.
I'll be honest with you, it did better than the Moskva, at least. You know, it survived longer than it did.
That's true.
So with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little T-80BV that got all messed up. Oh, it's just all messed up. It's terrible. And we're now going to be moving out of the Kherson area because nothing much happened beyond that old clip and two new ones. And we're now going to be moving up to Kyiv to cover the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 340 of the war in Ukraine. And so without further ado, here's the speech. Let me turn that thing up.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці. Сьогодні ми починаємо марафон чесності, який буде спрямований на те, щоб очистити керівництво міжнародних олімпійських структур від лицемірства та будь-яких намагань витягнути у світовий спорт представників держави-терориста. Не можна не бути розчарованим заявами чинного очільника Міжнародного олімпійського комітету Томаса Баха. Я неодноразово з ним говорив і так і не почув, як він збирається захищати спорт від пропаганди війни, якщо поверне російських спортсменів у міжнародні змагання. Не буває нейтральності, коли триває така війна. І ми знаємо, як часто тиранії пробують використовувати спорт заради своїх ідеологічних інтересів. Очевидно, що будь-який нейтральний прапор російських спортсменів заплямований кров'ю. Я не хочу розбиратися в тому, що саме стало мотивом для пана Баха, щоб просувати таку ініціативу. Але ми зробимо все, щоб світ захистив спорт від політичного
Enforcer, is this yesterday's speech?
впливу держави-терориста.
I don't think it is. Let me go check real quick. Let me go check the timestamp. 20s. It is. What? Did they not come out with a new one today? I swear that this one was new. I thought it was new. He was just using the same background.
This right here reminds me of that lifeboat situation a minute ago.
Dang it, man.
Flame the enforcer. Flame him.
Call him out. Call him out. Oh, man.
Call him out, guys. Call him out.
Call him out. Call him. Call him out. Oh, man. I'm getting
That would be a really sad day if that was like my main focus was worrying about like Call the other guys out. Call them out.
Yeah. Oh, man. If only I could get a response to a Discord message. I get no respect around here. I tell you what. I try and bury a beef. Next thing you know, it's cooked well done. I'm telling you what. I get no respect around here. No respect. I tried to reach out to someone the other day, and I said, hey, are you doing all right? He said, I'm doing better than you. Oh, man. And I'm telling you, that's just the beginning of it. Oh, man. But anyways, sadly, we don't have a speech from him today. I don't know how to explain that. But anyways,
someone said he has an unofficial release on YouTube from his old campaign channel. Although I'm not sure what channel that would be.
An unofficial release, so he's like dropping like the pre-release of his daily. Sadly, I don't think we'll have a speech from President Zelensky tonight, considering that it's not here on his official page. So with that, I guess that's it. I guess that's the end of the stream as far as we're concerned. So with that, that was the attempted covering Zelensky's speech on day 340 of the war in Ukraine. But of course, there was no speech. So I thank you all so much once again for watching day 340 of the news. If y'all enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, and also make sure to comment, as that helps this channel to keep on running. And we're about to be moving on into the question segment. So we're going to be addressing our polls first, because a lot of y'all have been voting on them. There's been some really juicy ones. And then we'll be moving into our super chats. We're going to be answering all of the super chats that help to support this channel. And then we'll be moving on to all of the live chats that we can answer. Of course, I cannot give any guarantee on how many super chats we can answer, because usually it depends on how many super chats we have. But we answer as many as we can, at least before we reach 12:30 Eastern, 12:30 local time, or 1:30 a.m. Eastern time. And so with that, I thank you all once again for watching. We're about to be moving into that question segment. I'm trying to figure out how to work this, because I didn't have a speech to get me prepared for this outro. But with that, let's get on into the polls.
All right, so with that, we're getting into our polls very early. And it looks like the first one says, could the CIA be attempting to spark a coup in Iran to destabilize the government? Obviously, disclaimer up front, because I know some people are going to go probably bonkers over it. That is simply a question. It's based on speculation and nothing more. It's not based on factual information. It looks like 65% said yes, it's a possibility, but maybe remote. 22% said unsure, and 14% said no, it's not a possibility. On this one, I'm going to say, because of things we've seen in the past, it's not out of the CIA's wheelhouse to do things like that. So I'm going to say it is a possibility, but granted, it might be remote. Enforcer, what say you?
I would say it's most likely a remote possibility. We can't really say anything. I can't say anything about that until we get actual information on it. So I would have to remain in the undecided, or I don't really know category, because I can't really say if it was or was not them, because we haven't gotten a lot of information either way at this point. We just know the stuff's blowing up. Things are getting shot down. There's chaos in the streets, and an earthquake happened. A lot happened in Iran today. And so with that, we are going to be moving on to the next one, and I hope we address that one fairly well.
All right. So the next one says, fast-track talks are underway for missiles and planes, says Ukraine. Do you think the West will oblige their request? It looks like 72% said yes, the West will speed up the deliveries. 16% said unsure, and 13% said no, we are going as fast as possible. I think we can speed up, and I think that we will speed up. I'm not sure if we're going to speed up on the tanks, but I think on the missiles and planes, we probably will. But Enforcer, what say you?
I think that we can, like Matthew said, I think we can speed up. I think we will, of course, speed up eventually. It's just that we're taking our time right now to see how the situation's going, probably trying to perfect everything involved if possible. But if things got a little more serious, I'm sure we'll just speed it up and send the stuff on over there. And so with that, I hope we addressed that poll fairly well. And we are on to the next one. You know what, Matthew? I drank an exorbitant amount of coffee tonight. Like, it was half of that cup that I usually drink out of, and for some reason, it didn't do anything at all. I think I'm starting to get into that area where I'm like Michael Jackson. I'm not like Michael Jackson in every other way, but like Michael Jackson with like the sleep things, like where he's like, I'm just so sleepy, and then he like just start using loads of like sleep medicine. I feel like I'm getting to that point with coffee. I feel like I'm going to be drinking a literal cup filled to the brim with coffee in the future. Just straight up nitro cold brew. It's going to be doing nothing for me. But anyways,
maybe so. And my Pike brew is still working pretty decent, I gotta say.
hey guys, if the enforcer's drinking too much coffee, call him out. Call him. Anyways, we're on to the next. But it's not doing anything for me.
It's not doing anything, he says.
It's not doing
But anyways, the third poll we have, which is the last one for now, says, should there be a limit to the amount of support that the West provides to Ukraine? It looks like 57% said no, send support at all costs. And I have to admit, I'm kind of shocked it's only 57%. It looks like 31% said, we should use common sense. 4% said unsure, and 8% said, yes, we should put a cap on the funding. Now on this one, I got to say, if I had to choose one of the options, I would say use common sense. We need to keep supporting Ukraine, and if that means spending more money, then we need to do it, because Ukraine's security is our security at the end of the day. If we had to put a cap on it, I would say set the cap very high, to where we'd probably never reach it. So it'd basically be moot at that point. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that I think we should send support at send support at all costs. I was trying to figure out how that was worded because for some reason it slipped my mind. Send support at all costs. I don't think there should be any bars on support. And I think, Matty, if we put a cap on it, it should be like a debt ceiling cap where every time you're about to reach it, you just raise it again. You know, like, oh, we're reaching it, raise it again. And so that way everyone can go, oh my God. And then you raise it again and everyone say, I'm going to forget about that until it comes around next time. And then I won't remember that this happened last year. But I would say yes, send support at all costs. I think that's the best thing to do. And so with that, I hope that addresses that poll fairly well. And we are on to the next one. And also, I just noticed that Mark is here. So, hey, hello, Mark. That's
Hello.
But with that, we are on to the next poll.
All right. And also, Haxor said, I love Pike's Place. And I got to say, it's pretty good. I don't necessarily love it. It's just what I've gotten in a habit of drinking. I tried a different one yesterday that was better, but I can't remember what it was called. Keurig coffee all kind of tastes the same, though. I don't know why. But anyways, let's see here. Just making sure I caught up with the super chats and the live chats real quick. And it looks like we have. So we're moving back into our super chat questions. And up first, obviously, we have that very generous support from Mark, who puts in a $125 donation and says, on Switzerland, will remain neutral without question, but they could be swapping their Leopards for newer ones, which will also give Germany more ready-to-go Leopards to get to Ukraine.
And thank you so much for the mass amount of support, Mark, and helping this channel out, because, of course, we rely on viewer support, so thank you so much for that. And to answer that question, well, to answer that statement, I do completely agree with you, Mark. Switzerland will remain neutral. And then you said, but they could be swapping their Leopards for newer ones, which will also give Germany more ready-to-go Leopards to get to Ukraine. That could be true. I think it may have gone down to the crux. Their crux. I always like that word crux. It's such a weird one, especially in English, but I think that may be the crux of the issue, and that may be what they're planning on doing, is sending them back to Germany, getting new ones, so that kind of still keeps them neutral, but then Germany takes the Swiss Leopards and they send them to Ukraine. We know the one thing, though. We know that the Germans are sending nothing but 2A6s, and the ones that the Swiss have are 2A4s. So we'll probably see that those aren't sent now. But in future packages, we may see that a couple of Swiss Leopard 2A4s are thrown in that have their identifying insignia, markers, and such things taken off of them. One thing we do know is that while the Swiss are neutral, they usually just lean a little bit to whoever is neighboring them to make sure that they don't get on hostile terms immediately with people surrounding them. So they are probably doing something like that to make sure that they keep in good terms with NATO and also the European Union, which literally surrounds them on all sides. So with that, I thank you so much once again for the massive support, Mark Slava Ukraini. You have been around forever and helped out this channel a great deal. If it wasn't for viewers like you, this channel wouldn't have been possible. And of course, the massive support is really flattering to both Matthew and me, because it totally blows us away that people find this channel so worthwhile, like you, Mark, that you would throw in support like that to show how much you appreciate it. And so with that, thank you so much once again. You are going to help us with the coffee fund and help us to drink some the coffee, yeah? And so with that, we are on to the next one, but thank you so much once again for the support, yeah?
Indeed. Thank you very much. And up next, we have a $50 super chat from Madman, who says, I've been here since day 5, and I appreciate your updates, and it seems like Israel might be helping more than we know.
And Madman, you're a madman! And I would agree with you. Israel is helping out a little bit.
Excuse me.
What? Are you okay?
That was a sneeze. I was trying to muffle it and hit the like hit the like button. I was trying to hit the mute button and it didn't work.
This is all I heard on my end, Matthew. I heard, I was like, is he all right over there? I was like, what's going on? I thought we were about to have one of those like CNN episode things, you know, where like they're on air and it's
Whoa.
like, what are you doing over there? You're fired. Come back. You're fired. But anyways, I'm just kidding with you, Matthew. I'm just playing around with you. But to answer that, Madman, I will agree with you. Israel is supporting more than it seems. That's why we've seen some Israeli stuff in Ukraine. Like, we've even seen some very mundane things like Israeli helmet covers, like the Witch is famously known for wearing one. And we've also seen Israeli armored cars as well. So I do think that they're helping out. It's just that they're not really making it very public, and their support is somewhat limited right now in terms of its scope. So with that, I thank you so much once again, Madman. You are an absolute madman. And I thank you so much once again for the huge support. It helps us out a great deal. And without that support, this channel wouldn't be able to keep running. You're helping us to keep the lights on. You're helping that to put us, helping that to be put towards the fund, like the coffee fund, the pizza fund. We actually had pizza today, funnily enough. It was actually not that bad. But still, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And thank you so much once again for the support. And I hope we were able to cover the whole Israel thing fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, Enforcer, check your DMs. I got a message from Smell Me Fingers that said he found today's speech.
Oh? One second. That has like the same background as mine. And this was uploaded 16 hours ago. Let's see here. And it doesn't look like on my phone it has a translation. But let me go flip over to the Discord real quick and let me check.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні
Subtitles?
українці.
Dear Ukrainians, I wish you health. We are starting a
Hey,
hey,
somebody's talking.
It's actually got an English dub. This is like Zelensky. What is it? What's those Japanese cartoons, Matthew? What are they called? I forgot their name.
Anime?
Yeah, anime. It's like anime. Like they dubbed it.
marathon of honesty, which will be aimed at clearing the leadership of international Olympic structures of hypocrisy and any attempts to bring representatives of the terrorist state into world sports. One cannot but be disappointed by the statements of the current president of the International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach. I spoke with him several times, and I never heard how he is going to protect sports from war propaganda if he returns Russian athletes to international competitions. There is no such thing as neutrality when a war like this is going on, and we know how often tyrannies try to use sports for their ideological interests. It is obvious that any neutral flag of Russian athletes is stained with blood. I do not want to get into what exactly motivates Mr. Bach to promote such an initiative, but we will do everything so that the world will protect sports.
I was thinking it probably was. And it was.
Oh man!
I was making sure though. I was just letting it play and checking the live chat. Yeah, everyone is saying it's the same speech. So fortunately, there wasn't a new one today, and we are on to the next one. But thank you once again. It was Dupper Bob who found it.
No, Smell Me Fingers.
Why in the world did I think it was Dupper Bob? Thank you, Smell Me Fingers, for trying to find it. It was a good attempt, but sadly, I don't think he made one today. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Marion Deemert, who puts in a $20 donation and says, Enforcer Matt, Crimea is coming home. and I hope it does.
That sounds like something you would say at a football homecoming in high school. Crimea is coming home, baby. But thank you so much once again for the support, Miriam. You're helping this channel to keep on running, and beyond just a silly little joke, I do believe it will be coming back to Ukraine. And so, also, Matthew, I saw some funny comments, and I bet Miriam's also going to add some in here. Dale Alatica said, call him out when we were playing the scene speech.
Does he know who we're talking about then? He probably knows.
I don't know, but call him out. And anyways, with that, we are getting back to Miriam's support, and I do believe, I'm going to be honest with you, Miriam, I think it will be coming back this year. I don't know when, but I'm pretty confident that if the Ukrainians can pick up the momentum again like they had last year, it will be a matter of time before they are actually at the doorstep of Crimea or in Crimea, one or the other. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope I addressed that comment fairly well, and we're going to be moving on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for supporting this channel and helping us to keep going. Also, Marion Deemer, you said why? I was thinking you would be in on that joke. Like I thought you were just going to joke around with it. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again, Marion.
And also, let's see, I've seen several viewers ask this question, and I saw, let's see here, Christina Law say, isn't it a little concerning that there's no speech from Zelensky today? And I have to say, I don't think it's very concerning because I don't think he did one when he came back from the USA either. I'm not sure exactly why he hasn't done one today, but I wouldn't be overly concerned with it. But Enforcer, what do you think?
Nah, it's not concerning at all. He's missed like several of them. He's missed at least, I think, 2 weeks worth total of speeches throughout the entirety of the war because he was either traveling to Bakhmut or the United States or back from the United States, or he was traveling somewhere else. Whenever he's traveling, he usually doesn't make videos, so he's probably traveling. So with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Edmund Dugar, who puts in a $20 donation and says, did you see that Russia is trying to buy Taliban American weapons? And can I get a hoorah for my fellow Marines?
And thank you so much for the support. And also, hoorah! I know that's not how it's done. Hoorah or something. I don't know. I'm not a Marine. But still,
hoorah!
Let me make sure to piss off all the high school kids who used to go to high school with that were like Marine Corps LARPers. Semper Fi. Don't say that. Don't desecrate it.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thank you so much once again for the support. And also, can you reread that one again just to make sure I can cover everything in it?
Did you see that Russia is trying to buy Taliban American weapons?
I think I did, but we're not really considering that seriously because the Afghanis, from what we know, don't really have anything that they could really give over that would really impact the Russian war effort. And not only that, all of that stuff is American equipment, so the ability for the Russians to buy spare parts and replacement parts for them to keep maintaining them and keep them running, probably highly unlikely. Well, you have to remember this. The Russians make their own stuff and use their own stuff. And so if we bought from Russia a Euro 4320, we could probably only keep that thing running for a certain amount of time because we don't have a parts supply chain to keep that thing running and maintain it. That's the exact same with the Russians in things like Humvees. There is no supply chain to keep that little vehicle running, so they'll just eventually break down after a short while of time and be completely unusable. So I think that would probably be the best explanation as to why that really won't happen and why that isn't concerning, because there's no way for them to really maintain those vehicles for a long enough time to make it worthwhile. And so with that, I hope that answers that question fairly well. And I thank you so much once again for support, and also, hoorah! And so with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you once again for the support.
And also, let's see here. Somebody said something I found interesting here. Let's see. Someone said, yeah, Bill Deplorable. He said, Enforcer, no speech today from Zelensky since he's flying back from Iran.
I know he didn't go to Iran. Iran does not like Ukraine. That's gotta be a joke. That's gotta be a joke.
He must have done a hit and run.
He went to Iran and he said, I'm going to slaughter you like grain from Ukraine, Slovak. And then he blew up some arms factories and came flying back. It's gonna be the new season of Servant of the People. Servant of the People, season 6. journey to Iran, and he's gonna be down there blowing up arms factories on film. You know, I almost busted out one of my teeth right there. Like, I laughed and I closed my jaw, and like one of my left teeth just slammed right into my lower teeth. That was fun.
Wow,
Anyway,
I have no idea how you do that. No idea. I can't even visualize that in my mind.
well, if
You must have been chomping down like crazy.
if you were here, you would have seen it. And so with that, the more you know. With that, we are on to the next. But I hope we addressed that one fairly well, Bill Deplorable, and also pretty funny one too. And so with that, we are on to the also Bill Deplorable. You're not telling the truth. Call him out. Call him out.
Call him out.
That
I
seems,
saw somebody knew who we were talking about a second ago. They said, "Oh, you're talking about this guy?" It's like, "Oh yeah, that's who we're talking about."
yeah, the guy who we sent a Discord message to try and ask him about something in the future that we were actually planning for him to be a part of, and then he blew me off. And you know, there was supposed to be. Anyways, we're not going through that. We're not doing that. But yeah, that is the guy. Anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Panama Floyd, who puts in a $20 donation and says, Enforcer and Enforcer Matt, what do you think about the possibility that Ukraine would run down the Zaporizhia and Kherson border below the Dnipro in an attempt to retake Crimea?
I think that's probably unlikely, because when you think about it, if they move down the border of the river, they're not really cutting off any Russian forces. They're actually having to like ply them off the river like with a knife, pretty much. Like they're trying to cut through a little weak piece of wood and then split it in two. The better thing to do would just be to saw the whole thing off and just go to Melitopol, which cuts the line in two. The supply lines would probably not be that good at that point, and then you could start to just move along the coastline of the Sea of Azov down here to the area around, and let me make sure I get this right, Chonar, which is the Chonar Strait. And by that point, the Russian forces in this area would be in such a bad predicament, strategically and also logistically, that they would probably start to withdraw on their own, and we would see a mass withdrawal through Armyansk and down into Crimea, where they would try and regroup the forces or start ferrying them across the Kerch Strait and back into Russia. So that is a pretty good idea. I think they will eventually start heading down in that direction. It's just that they won't follow the coastline of the Dnipro River. They'll probably just shoot straight from Melitopol, because it's a lot shorter length of an offensive, and not only that, it probably would cause a lot more impact to the Russian strategic situation. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well, but I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope we were able to answer that fairly well, and thank you so much for being an old guard on this channel and helping this thing to keep on running. Because if any of y'all have been helping out, it's definitely been our old guard viewers like Mark, like BC's guy, like all of y'all. And I've got to thank y'all so much once again for helping this thing to keep rolling. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again.
All right. And the next one goes to Jonathan, who puts in a $20 donation himself and says, Mighty Midar, Jaga Jaga.
And thank you so much for the support. And Jaga Jaga Boof Igor. Wow, that was really weird sounding.
Dang, yeah, it was loud.
And also, someone's about to say, my ears. But still, thank you so much once again for the support. And Magyar is pretty cool. And I can't say anything about what this is attached to right now, but we got some flags on our way to our house. And one of them was actually signed by the man himself. Believe it or not. He actually signed onto the flag, Matthew. Igor! He actually signed it himself.
Why didn't you tell me about this before?
Well, I'm keeping it a little under wraps, because you know it's.
Oh, you told me about it anyway. I'm joking. You're gonna try to act like you're keeping a secret from me.
Well, I mean, like, I haven't shown you the actual video of it, have I?
I think you showed me a picture.
I don't think I did, because there was no picture. It was just a video.
I could have sworn you showed me a picture.
No picture, only video. All gas, no brakes.
Oh, poor guy.
Oh man, poor guy. But anyways, with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, because that guy is pretty cool. Magyar, pretty cool dude. Magyar was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys. But anyways, we're on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for support and bringing up the absolute OG Magyar.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a $15 super chat from Cindy Mitchell, who says, Matt, send it back to the chat. And Cindy, I will send it back to the chat. And thank you very much for your support and also watching us for a long, long time. And Cindy's question for the live chat is going to go to, let's see here, Pizza Man, He says, what is the status of Ukraine's power grid?
Now, Pizza Man, you being a man of pizza should know exactly how the power grid's performing. I'm just kidding with you. The power grid's performing somewhat well from what we've been able to hear recently. It appears that around 70% of it or more is operational right now, which is incredibly high considering how it's been throughout some parts of the war. Sometimes it's gotten down to around as low as 30% of the power grid was operational. So it's doing somewhat okay. Of course, that number will probably not climb. The Ukrainians are practically fighting a war in the electrical infrastructure every single day to keep it around 70%. So we're probably not going to see it climb from there, but that's still fairly good for a country that is constantly being bombarded by cruise and ballistic missiles that are hitting substations and power generators and knocking out the power grid almost daily in some places, and then it's constantly being turned back on. And so with that, I hope that addresses that question fairly well from you, Pizza Man. And thank you so much, Cindy, for supporting this channel and also helping us to address a live chat. I think that is really kind of our viewers, Matthew. Like, incredibly kind. That y'all would support this channel and then completely give up y'all's super chat to a live chat. You know, like, we haven't said that a lot lately, but that's always very interesting because I've never seen that trend anywhere else on any other channel that has super chats. No one ever says, hand this over to someone else. That is incredibly kind of y'all. Like, that really is. But with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again, Cindy, for being an incredibly kind person with a huge heart and also helping this channel to keep on rolling.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a $15 super chat from Honeybee Care, who says, for the pizza fun, Israeli aircraft won't be getting shot down. Get a live chat, question mark.
And thank you so much for the support. I don't think Israeli aircraft will be shot down. So might want to rule them out, considering that. I think we will. I'm sitting here thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, you know, and on top of that, they'd have to fly over Syria or Jordan and Iraq, which poses some of its own issues. But yes, I would say probably rule them out. But with that, we are going to make sure to go and get that live chat. And thank you so much once again for supporting this channel. And also handing over your super chat as well to a live chat. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
And the live chat question goes to Flash1, who says, Enforcer, do you think that Ukraine will keep all the weapons after the war or give it back with the tanks and everything, etc.?
That is dependent on whether they were lend-leased or whether they were given over or whether they were bought. Some things like the Bayraktars, they're going to be kept. Most of them will be, because most of them were purchased by Ukraine or they were handed over to Ukraine, not as a lend-lease, but as a permanent, I guess you could say, gift in a way. So we know that through those means, the Bayraktars will stay. Other things like the M777s, I believe that those have been lend-leased, and so those may actually return after the end of the war. But it really depends on what people agree to at the end of the war, what kind of negotiations are had, because the Ukrainians might be able to negotiate keeping some or all of those weapon systems. So we'll really just have to wait until the end of the war to see whether some of the stuff that was lend-leased will go back to America, or if the Ukrainians will make some kind of agreement to keep them or buy them or something similar. And so with that, I hope that addresses that question fairly well. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And our next one is going to go to Richard Philpott, who puts in a $10 donation and says, Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov! And thank you so much for the support, Richard Philpott. I don't know what that has to do with anything, Matthew. I don't know. What does that got to do with what went on today, you know?
What does it mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean? I'm just kidding. I think you're talking about what happened in Iran today. What? The Carpet Museum of Iran? What the hell? It's literally like a rug emporium.
Well, rugs have high importance there.
They built the museum to look like Alcatraz.
Yeah, why does the museum look like a prison?
Oh man,
the rugs are like fighting to get out at night when they close the museum, like they're having to trap them in.
It's Night at the Carpet Museum. That's the ripoff of Night at the Museum here in America. In Iran, it's called Night at the Carpet Museum. The carpets come to life and they start killing you. Also, this guy has got one hell of a mustache right here. Like, that is a mustache. Honestly, I think that's a propeller. This man's going airborne, Matthew. No comment. No comment. No comment. What else do they have in here? Let's see. They have almost like a depiction of a Syrian or a Babylonian emperor or a king or something. I don't know. Fairly interesting, but I've got to be honest with y'all. Y'all can find these for like $300 at about the same quality in a furniture store here in America. So it's neat to see them, but I don't really think it's worth its own museum. Yeah, you know, it's just kind of is what it is, I guess. What else do they have in Tehran rather than a carpet museum? They have the Museum of Contemporary Art. What does that look like in Iran? Oh, it's like legit, like, contemporary, nonsensical art. Huh. Wow. Look, Matthew, this has so much meaning.
Wow. Is that a big acorn right there?
I think that's a big pine cone. It's got ears on it, though. Wait a minute, it's heads. It's human heads.
Okay. That's, different.
Yeah, a little different. Honestly, I gotta be honest with y'all, I don't really get modern art. Like, you know, it's...
I love modern art when, like, the art people, like, force you to, like, see a certain meaning out of it instead of letting you figure out, like, what it means to you.
Yeah,
like, if you say something that doesn't go along with the narrative, they'll be like, well, no, that's not really what it means. So, like, well, isn't it supposed to be subjective, though?
Yeah, they are always, welcome to the art museum. We're always open to whatever interpretations y'all have of the art, because art is all subjective. It's about what you think of the art. And then you walk in there and they'll be like, what do you think of this piece of art? And you'll be like, I think the person who made it, they were, I don't know, angry because it's got red on it. Actually, you're wrong. You're wrong. The story behind this is that he was making love to a woman and he started spraying paint on a canvas, and they'll say something like that. So it's all about love or something like that. It's like, but you just told me art was subjective. Why are you now going to tell me that I'm wrong? You know, we actually had that happen, Matthew and me, before, I believe, at one point or another, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And
I'll speak from experience.
Also, Matthew, I like this. Like, dude, yeah, please stop trying to be a comedy routine. Neither of you are funny. You just come across as two immature children. Your early programs were interesting and informative. We literally,
Thanks, David.
We've been doing the same thing for like 300 days. You know, I ought to start looking through the rule book of other channels and figuring out if that's worth cussing one out.
Oh, wow.
Call him out.
Yeah.
Call him.
the call him out guy would probably love to get a hold of him. He'd give him a lashing he'd never forget.
He would give him 25 lashes and then also keel haul him under the ship, you know, on the barnacles and stuff with a rope. But
all in that monotone form too, that like never changes fluctuation. Man, call him out. Call him out.
Call him out. But we're sounding like zombies over here, man. You just entered the room of the insane asylum and we're both in there just going insane. Call him out at the same time like that. Call him out. Call him out. and now some people are saying, but they're funny. And then like, well, some people are like, Matt's funny. But yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, anyways. I think that's kind of goofy because we've been like this since the start of the war. You know, like, I don't know how in the world you're saying the earlier ones were different because we've been doing the same thing forever. But anyways, interesting.
What if we were just to be totally like monotone the entire stream? That would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be absolutely wonderful. I'm sure there's many people out there who do not do that kind of thing, and people actually watch those channels a lot. You know, because
not
because we started off this channel. And my concept was that if we made the news interesting and a little lighthearted, people would actually be able to stick around and get the news every single day and it wouldn't become too much for them. That was the initial concept of this channel from day one. So I don't know why people come in here and say that it was different at another time, because it wasn't. It's always been the same. There's always been little jokes thrown in everywhere, and especially during the question segment. You know, like that is literally joke central. We are making nothing but jokes. So I don't.
And also, some of my humor is just actually cringe. I don't actually try to be that way. It's just actually that cringe.
Yeah.
So I don't know why David's so offended. It just comes naturally.
And also, some of the humor is supposed to be meant to be cringe. Like whenever we make dad jokes, it's known. It's clear with us. It's a dad joke. It's cheesy. That's the whole point of the joke. You know, it's supposed to be cheesy. So I don't even know why you would beef with us like that, because that's the whole point of why we joke like that. Anyways, wait a minute, hang on, man.
It was a lame bot.
Yeah,
it was the standard line.
Yeah, but that looks like a Iranian name. We got the Iranian bots in here simping for the Russians. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And let's see here. Our next one is going to go to Avari Mendubratis, who puts in a $10 donation. Here's an improv idea. A broke orange man is driving an Uber and picks up the Kadyrov from LaGuardia. Before they can leave, cops pull them over. Each thinks the other is wanted. Go!
So how you doing, Mr. Ham and Cheddar, Mr. Ramzan Kadyrov? How are you doing, buddy? I'm doing well, Don. I just got off the plane with my goat, Don. Well, that's pretty good to hear. I've never been a big fan of goats myself, but I've got to tell you, I am the goat. Listen, Donald, Don. I don't want to hear you talk, Don. And I just realized he actually is the Don. That's right. I'm the one and only, the Donald. I'm telling you, it's absolutely incredible. Also, by the way, could you give me a 5-star on Uber, because I really need one? I've been getting a lot of 1 stars. The ratings are terrible, but that's because I've been transporting people like Rosie O'Donnell and your typical. Well, I can't say that, but I can't say that because while I'm doing an impersonation of him, I'm not going that far. But anyways, did we get disconnected? YouTube overlords, they don't like this much. But anyways, how are you doing, Ramzan? How are you having? I came to America to run away from the Putin, Don. It is not going good over there, Don. Well, it's not going great everywhere. You know what I mean? It's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Everything's falling apart. We need to make Chechnya great. Wait a minute, hang on. We're getting pulled over by the car. 1 second, I gotta pull over. I'm sorry, it's a little bit of a formality. I'm popular around here. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure you are, Don. Yeah, Don.
All right. What's going on around here? What? You just blew through a stop sign.
Excuse me, you're talking to the Donald?
What the hell does that have to do with anything? You look like you got a skunk on your head. Give me your license and insurance.
Okay, you don't have to be so pushy. Oh my God, you listening to this, Ramzan? I am a Don. It's outrageous, Don. No, I mean, I'm telling you, did they let anything like this go in Chechnya? Well, in Chechnya, I can do whatever I want, Don.
But anyways, I think I've done this one.
You do that so well. It's almost worrisome. Talking to yourself is like the first sign of trouble, right?
Well, actually, this is really hard for me to do, Matthew. Like, I'm really straining to come up with these lines. Like, while I'm saying one, I'm trying to battle to think of the next one. And that's why I had to stop right there, because I actually run out of lines. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, I don't even know where to go with this. But with that, I thank you so much once again for the support of Vari. I hope we addressed that comment fairly well, and I hope you enjoyed the voice impersonation, because it takes a decent amount of effort to string together the improvs like that. Like, doing a single voice on its own is interesting, is easy enough, but having to come up with a way for everyone to interact with each other on the fly and make it kind of interesting, it's kind of tough. Oh, Terrence Custer said, funny, but don't give up the day job. But with that, to the next one. Thank you once again, Avari, for the support.
Right. So up next, we have another one from Avari Mendubratis. It's another $10 donation, and says, what SAM capabilities does Azerbaijan have? If they brought the capability to shoot down high-altitude aircraft, would they take out Russian bombers launching caliber missiles at Ukraine?
Can you reread that one again real quick?
Yeah. Avari says, what SAM capabilities does Azerbaijan have? If they brought the capability to shoot down high-altitude aircraft, would they take out Russian bombers launching caliber missiles at Ukraine?
I don't know what kind of anti-air ability Azerbaijan has, so let's pull that up. Azerbaijan. Army equipment. Azerbaijani land forces. All right, they got the Glock. Solid pick. They got the thing. I don't even know how to pronounce that, but it's made by Tesis. Oh, cool. Now we know where that's from, Matthew. Let's see. And then they got the Uzi. I gotta tell you, I don't like the Uzi. I just think it doesn't
Nah,
look good.
it's really overrated. I don't know why it became so popular.
Also, it looks like, interesting enough, they use everything. They've got M4s, M16s. Wow, they actually have legit M16s. Huh.
Oh, they even have a bipod on the front.
Yeah, and a Picatinny rail. That is weird. I don't know if I like that on an M16. It kind of looks odd. Let's see. They have G36s.
Oh,
What?
that looks very plasticky. Actually, is it metal or plastic?
I think it's like mostly plastic or something. And then they got the Tavor from Israel.
Oh,
We're
goodness
we're gonna-
gracious,
we're gonna
that's a
forget-
horrendous looking weapon.
And then they got the Tavor Tar 21, which looks better, but it's still very
Ugh.
plasticky. I gotta tell you, I'm not really a big fan of Israeli bullpups. There are okay looking ones out there, but I don't think Israel makes them if those are the ones they got. Then they got the MPT 76, which is a Turkish rifle. And then they have the AKs and stuff. But we need to get to the SAMs because we're wasting a lot of time here. Also, they have the Beretta M82. Everyone's got that, don't they? Like, everyone wants that thing and they get them. But anyways, let's scroll on. They've got... Oh, that's IR stuff. They got some T90Ss. They lost 10 of these in the Nagorno-Karabakh war. Wow. Wow, they lost 10 T90s. I didn't even hear about that. Let's see here. They lost 52 of these, of their T-72s in the Nagorno-Karabakh war. They lost almost half of their T-72 force, and then they lost none of their T-55s. They just still have 100 of those, and they suck. But anyways, wait a minute, where was that picture taken? Used by militiamen in Afghanistan. I was about to say, that looks a lot like Afghanistan. That does not look like Azerbaijan. Anyways, let's get on down to the SAMs. We got to get onto those SAMs. They got a lot of equipment, man. Like, they got, like, one of everything.
They said, can I have the menu? Looked it up and down. I'll have one of everything.
You know, they did that cheap Dalai Lama joke that BBC reporter did with the Dalai Lama. You know what the Dalai Lama asked for when he went into the restaurant? He said, I want to be one with everything. And then the Dalai Lama didn't get it, and it was just cringe. But anyways...
Yeah, that was really like, then people talk about our comedy. That was a little like, that's what would happen if our comedy went into an interview format. That's what would happen.
Probably. But it looks like they have some Belarusian surface-to-air missile systems. They have a Laura, which from Israel. They have a Predator Hawk, which is a hawk, but it's a Predator. And then they have some Tochkas. Oh,
Wait a minute, go back to that picture for a minute. Huh.
What? What about it?
I don't know. It looked like fake for a minute for some reason. I was looking at that like cartoonish looking missile sticking out the top of it, and I was thinking, is that real?
It's real.
Then I realized, okay, it's real.
That's a Tochka.
Oh,
also.
another bot.
Oh, get it. Those are actually the surface-to-surface launchers. We're looking for the surface-to-air. I can't find them. What the hell? They have some. It's just that I'm not finding them here on this list. Unfortunately, due to that, I don't know if I can get you an answer because I cannot find their surface-to-air missile systems. But I think they use like S-300s and 400s, so they should be able to just give those over to Ukraine if they wanted to. And so with that, I hope that answers the question the best we can. And also, Hokey Redneck asked a question. I'm going to answer this live chat early. He said, what does Andrew think about all day? Great question. Nowadays, I don't really have time to independently think anymore because I'm so busy just doing stuff I must do that I don't really have time to think. But when I normally think, I think about things like, what if Swiss government was applied to most of Europe? Like, very abstract things. It's just all the time. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Landlubber, who puts in a $10 donation and says, bring up Canal 13, 2 A6 tanks and Marder 105 combat vehicles moving from Poland to Ukraine on YouTube. Is it misinformation? And have the AFU been training for months?
Canal 13, is that spelled like Kanal 13?
Yes.
Let's see here. We'll go to YouTube. Man, Canal 13, they got 1.4 million subs. Dang.
And it's 2 A6 tanks and Marder 105 combat vehicles moving from Poland to Ukraine. There it is, right there.
Also, we're going to mute that, and we're going to look at this. Let's see, so we see the Marder. That is a Leopard 2 AC. No, I'm doubting this because you see they still have German markings on them, and they're not going to sit there and paint those over at the border. They do that before they even move out of Germany. They unmark the vehicle. So this is probably some kind of a video that was made in Germany of German tanks being moved around, because there is no way that the Germans would ever let a tank leave their country that was being given to Ukraine that has German here markings still on it. That would be very risky for them, because if they've never got taken off, it could be said, and it would be fairly plausible that the German army itself was operating out of Ukraine and directly fighting the Russians because they're being identified as German tanks. Also, Gotze 1337 said there is no Dino in Germany. That may be true. I don't know. The Dino. Let's type that in. Dino stores. Okay, apparently we don't get any answers on that here in America. You might be right with that, but still, those aren't going to Ukraine because they have German marks on them. They're not going to paint those over at the border. They will paint those over beforehand, load them onto the trains, and then send them out. So with that, let's see. And then FG says, I could be wrong, but I heard something about them leaving the cross on them in particular. They would not do that. That is very risky. They didn't do that with their Panzerhaubitzes either. They covered over those crosses on the side of their Panzerhaubitz and also everything else they've sent, because that implies that they're in there and they're directly fighting in the war. So they wouldn't want that, because then that means a NATO country is actually fighting in Ukraine, and that means that World War III technically could be argued had already begun. So they would have to make sure to get rid of the identifying markers before they even arrive. So I have a feeling this probably isn't the case, that these are being sent. And it's not really showing us a lot of information to prove, rather than the Dino sign, that this is in Poland. Now let's see what the comments have to say.
Gloria Ukraine.
Slava Ukraini. That's all they say. Let's go to Poland and let's see if we can find. Let me type this in. Dino store Germany.
Dino?
Dino, maybe? That's not it.
What the hell was that?
Dinosaurs? Like little cartoon dinosaurs? That's not what we're looking for.
Look at that one. Go back up. Go back up. Scroll down. Wait, it said, look at that one in the middle. What the hell?
Oh my god. Wow, man, that thing is just...
I thought this was for children.
Dude, this thing is just throwing out the raw lines.
Hortus and Dino. It's like this is different.
Yeah, that's different. That's different. Dino discount store? Discount store. Let me type that in. Let's see if we can get anything for that. I can't find the store. I cannot find it. So let's just drop down somewhere like here. Let's see if we can see a store that's called this. This is a discount store. Bets are that it's everywhere, but we gotta find them. Manufactura is a store. Welcome to Manufactura. Wow, they actually got nice stuff in here.
Do they have a model shop?
Man, all the chandeliers you could wish for. I don't know if they do. But that is
food. Oh, car.
Car? Wow.
Oh, that's a Dodge Viper.
Dang, man. Like,
what are they doing with that over there?
This is the American car section. This is what they call exotic cars in Europe, or American imported cars. And Martin Matt says it's called Dingo. If I saw that video right, though, it was called Dino, but we'll type that one in instead. Dingo store Poland.
Wholesale zoological.
I don't think that's it. That doesn't-
Wholesale dogs? Is that what that means?
I don't know. I don't know, man. But anyways, we're gonna have to move on from that. Sadly, I can't really find the store to prove whether it was there or not. But I do thank you so much once again for helping out this channel and helping us to keep running. But I'd largely disprove that those are heading to Ukraine because they still have the German markings on them. And last time we saw the Panzer Helmets being transported into Ukraine, the markings were gone before they even got on the train. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you so much once again, and I hope we addressed that question fairly well.
All right, and the next one goes to Laura Carr, who puts in a $10 donation and says, after looking at these foxholes for months, how is it possible the Russians have learned nothing about overhead camouflage? How would you build a foxhole?
That is a good question. And the way I would build a foxhole would be pretty in-depth. And there was probably not enough resources for either side to do this, but what I would do is I would build the trench, and then I would cover it with one of those camouflage net things, if you know what I'm talking about, or I would make it to where the trench had, it was a normal trench, but you took wooden planks, set them over the top, like plywood sheets pretty much, set them over the top of the trench, and then you covered them up with dirt and then put leaves on top of them and then spread them out to make them look fairly, natural. And then you just had the small openings to the trench, but there was a pretty sizable trench network throughout the entire thing. And if you wanted to be able to look out of the trench, you just get like some rocks or something and you just plop them under one of the plywood pieces so it's at a slight angle, so that way you can look out a little bit and there's a small sliver there, but it's not going to be enough that it casts any kind of shadow or anything where a drone can see it from a distance away. You would have to be a really wide-eyed, very keen drone observer to be able to see a trench like that, because it would be so well camouflaged at that point and the soldiers would be so well concealed, it would be really hard to tell whether there were any guys down in that trench or if there was a trench at all. But that's how I would do it. But then again, that is fairly cost prohibitive in terms of time, resources, money, because of course the Russians are dirt poor, and they probably also don't have the time to spend the effort to make a trench that in depth. But with that, I thank you so much once again for the support, and I hope that does address the question fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support and a really interesting question.
Yes, indeed. And apparently, it looks like everybody's saying Dino is a supermarket. So apparently that's what it is. Oh, there it is. Market Dino or Dino.
We found it. Let's find it.
Oh, it's traded on the stock.
Oh man, this thing on the
Oh, that doesn't mean anything. It's just going down a little bit.
Man, it's a hostile takeover. I'm telling you what. Let's see here. English, please. No, but English, please.
Have some of that Polski schmuck.
we're gonna
you
get
see that go down a little bit. See, it says Wolspaniali Polski Smok.
The meat stand, bread straight from the oven. Man, dude, like everything else, meat stand, vegetables and fruits, flowers, bread straight from the oven. Like, why'd they have to add a descriptive right there? Like, why didn't they just say bread? But let's take a look at this fresh bread.
Ooh.
Dude, the bread options are more constrictive in the store than they are in an American store, which is kind of weird.
I like that biscuit duo strawberry vanilla 110 grams. That looks good.
Getting into the weight and everything. Dude, I love that wheat breakfast bread roll, 70 grams. Bro, that thing looks amazing. Oh, man.
I want that 110-gram roll, please.
Dude, I want that 500 grams, please. I want to overdose on sunflower bread, please. But, okay, we found it. So, now the question is in Germany. Let's see here. Let's see the locations. Okay, so they have 1,815 stores in 2021. So, let's see here. Is a Polish retail
Sounds like
chain
they're doing good.
are located in the following. Howbeit, upon foundation, the retail chain only operated in Western Poland. Doesn't really answer whether it looks like all the locations that they listed were inside of Poland. It's weird to think they have 1,815 stores in Poland alone, but apparently they do. I'm trying to look into this a little bit more. Let's discover. Let's see here. Come on. Dang, it's not loading. Oh, it is now. Let's see here.
Oh, wow. They have 847.8 thousand meter square net sales area.
Man, that is 840. Oh, well, yeah. No, sorry. No.
Math.
No. 84.7 square kilometers of store floor space across all of their stores. That's a lot. Man, that's a whoa. That's a lot.
Well, this is a rabbit hole right here. A wacky rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah, they're only in Poland. There's all of their stores. Dude, why in the world does that look like a nuclear attack map? Like where all the nuclear bombs fell in Poland, where all the radiation is at? It looks like
Well,
that.
it reminds me of that Plague game that they used to have on Miniclip. You remember that one?
Yeah. Oh, look, dude, they have it through the years. 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. This is growing like a plague. It's growing like the plague, yeah? Across all of the Poland, yeah? It's going to unite all the Polish people under one banner, yeah? But anyways, yeah, it's growing. But it's not growing out of Poland. So you are right, that is in Poland, because that store is only in Poland. But I still think those aren't going to Ukraine just yet with those markings on it. And so with that, we are on to the next one, yeah?
And the next one goes to Margaret Hemsley, who puts in a $10 donation and says, because you deserve it, find a spicy live chat question, please.
And thank you so much for the support, Margaret. And we'll make sure to find the spicy live chat. And thank you so much once again for the support. If my grandmother had the wheels, she would have been the bike. You remember that, Matthew?
Yeah.
As I dropped my phone. Yeah, well, you know what? I don't know if we would probably get copyrighted for that.
Yeah, we would.
I would pull it up and show it. This is hilarious because this guy, like this Italian guy on this British show, he cooked up something called a carbonara, which I've never had before. I think it's like, I don't know what it really is because, anyways, the British people on the show ate it and they said, this is like a good macaroni and cheese. Wait a minute, no, they ate it, so it was a good carbonara, which is, I guess, the way the British say macaroni and cheese. So this guy said, it is not a macaroni and cheese. If my mother had the wheels, she would have been a bike. And he like went off. Like he was offended. But anyways, with that, we will make sure to get ourselves a good live chat. And so with that, what do we got?
And the live chat goes to a longtime viewer who I haven't seen in actually quite some time, Orlos the Druid, who says,
hey, welcome back.
Dang. And welcome back. What is your input on possible reparations Russia may face? How will they pay if oil can't be sold? And what about the Russian people?
I would say the reparations they would face would probably be somewhat low. There's really no good way to make them pay reparations. Usually that kind of stuff comes with near to unconditional surrender, and I don't think they'll be doing that. If anything, there will be some kind of a peace agreement made in between Ukraine and Russia, but it won't be anything close to a Russian surrender. So I don't think that will be possible. So yeah, I mean, that really cuts everything out. We'll probably just see that as a peace treaty, and that would be it. And then we'll see that the Western world comes together to pay for the rebuilding of Ukraine, because that also allows for economic connections and ties to be made with Ukraine directly to the West through that investment. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well. And also, welcome back, Orlos. It has been forever since we've seen you around, and I hope that you stay. I hope that you stay now that you're back. We're going to keep you here because I always hate whenever viewers go missing. You know, because there's been a couple. There's been Speed Break. There's been Zeta Lane. I mean, I remember all of the viewers who used to be around a whole load and they disappear. Not to go through the whole list though, but I always, just in case y'all are watching for some reason after this goes live, I'm always missing y'all, and I always want y'all to come back and watch live because I like to know that people just hang out. And so with that, we're on to the next one. But I hope we answered that question fairly well, and thank you so much once again for the support, Margaret.
And also, I want to return to Orlos's question. I think there is a way you can get reparations because with all the seized oligarch assets like the yachts, the bank accounts, everything like that, that adds up to a pretty good amount. I can't remember what it is, but it would be a pretty big chunk to give Ukraine as damages for what Russia has done. Um, Now, let's see here. Honestly, I think they ought to be labeled damages to Ukraine because I'm not sure if reparations is the appropriate word for the situation since it was an act that Russia willfully took on toward Ukraine. You could use the word, but for some reason, damages to me sounds better. But Enforcer, do we know what the exact amount is that we've seized in oligarch assets so far?
I don't really know for certain right now because it's kind of being done on a country to country basis, and I don't think anyone's compiled it across all countries right now. So unfortunately, I don't think we have an exact number.
Let's see.
I think it only ranges in the hundreds of millions. I think it got up to like 400 million last time someone tried to make a count.
It looks like VOA News says U.S.-backed task force seizes more than 30 billion of Russian assets. So
30
let's see.
billion? That could pay for like 10% of Ukraine to be rebuilt.
Yeah, so 30 billion on that one, and that was back in June of 2022. Let's see here. That's all I'm seeing though thus far. I'm seeing some folks say 500 billion. I think that sounds a little high. I'm not sure where they get all those assets from.
I mean, hell, that would
but-
be like half of the Russian economy that they seized
Yeah.
somehow in assets.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty high.
I think so. But the problem is I doubt that Ukraine's ever going to see the money because when countries get their hands on that money, it's just a given. They're going to take some of it as a finder's fee, to say it kindly. And they might see some of it in Ukraine one day, but I doubt they'll see all of it, which is unfortunate, but sadly, that's the way it'll probably work. But unfortunately, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think I do, actually. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And the next one goes to, while I grab this other super chat, the next one goes to Jay Bagwell, who puts in a $10 donation. He says, here's an interesting tidbit. The director of the CIA was in Israel yesterday.
Oh. Oh.
That does add a little bit of interesting. That's another coincidence, like the earthquake.
That adds intrigue, mystery, I'd say, to this whole entire thing. And also, thank you, Jay, for the support, because we were actually in a call with Jay a few hours before the stream talking about things that are going on in the future. But moving on from that, that is actually really interesting here. I did not know that they had just gone to Israel, and that is very interesting that he was in the proximity of Iran. Are you saying, Jay, that the CIA is helping to start a coup or some kind of unrest in a foreign country? Where in the world would they have ever done that before? I don't think they've ever done anything like that, Matthew.
I think they have many times.
I mean, I was being sarcastic.
No.
You even taking it seriously. Obviously, they have. I mean, like, hell, we used to overthrow countries in Central America to keep the Chiquita Banana Company in the green. I mean, like, that's just what we do. And that would be
Look
interesting.
at Cuba.
Cuba, Bay of Pigs. They called them the. Interestingly enough, they said Bay of Pigs. I didn't see any pigs there, like none. Like, where the hell does it get the name the Bay of Pigs?
Well, it got its name somehow.
Well, we'll just have to leave that to the pages of history. But anyways, thank you so much once again for the support, Jay. And I would have to say that is very interesting. I didn't know that going into tonight's news. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But that does add a lot to it.
You know that meme of the guy here in Alabama? The news reporter walked up to him and said, "Excuse me, sir, did you know anything about that illegal gambling ring right down the street?" What? And he went, "No, what are you talking about? What you saying?"
Wait,
you should pull that one up. That's hilarious.
We need to clip that one. We need to pull that one up.
That's the CIA if they're ever like asked, "Did y'all ever support like coups overseas?" And then they give that response if we can find it.
And so, what would I pull that up under?
Let's see. Say Alabama man gambling ring caught.
Let's see here. So is it the one called Anaheim SWAT team raids illegal gambling ring and furniture store?
Let's see here. Let me see if I can spot it real quick. Let's see. I'm not really sure off the bat. If I can find it though, I'll show it.
Gotcha. If you can find it, just shoot it over to me on Discord and I'll show it over here. But with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to James Bogard, who puts in a $10 donation and does not leave a comment. But James, thank you very much for the support, and we appreciate it very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And thank you so much, James, for the support. You are helping this channel to keep on running. Every little bit counts. And of course, I thank you so much once again for that support, because more so than helping us to keep running, I'm just highly honored to know that people find this channel worthwhile to support and help us to stay afloat. And so I got to thank you so much once again for that. And with that, I hope we addressed that one fairly well. And we are on to the next one.
Let's see. Our next one goes to Super Bunker 9000, who puts in a $20 donation and says, Igor.
Bled. And thank you so much for the support, Super Bunker 9000. It has been a while since you have thrown in the super chat, but I thank you so much once again, because it helps this channel to keep on running. And also, Igor. And I hope you've been over there at NAFO doing cool things, because you've been giving them trucks and stuff, and that is cool. And I also like how you'll make like the NAFO camo. That's like really neat. I like that. So with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you so much once again for making a return, Super Bunker 9000. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again.
Right. And the next one goes to Terrence Custer, who puts in a $10 donation and says, didn't mean to make you cry, LOL, for the tissue fund.
Oh, come on, Terrence. I was just kidding with you. But we'll make sure to put that towards tissues and make sure to stop myself from crying, because you really hurt my feelings. But still, thank you so much once again. I hope we addressed that fairly well if we were on to the next one. But thank you once again, Terrence, for being a longtime viewer and helping this channel to keep running.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a $7 super chat from Thomas Kruger, who says, Enforcer, make sure you keep up on your studies. We would understand a day or two off to catch up. Guest host could work.
And thank you so much once again for the support. Sadly, I cannot do a guest host, like just a random person from around the world that just hopped up and started hosting the channel, because one, I can't ensure that some things that I'm vehement and religious about doing would be kept, like the no politics stance, you know, because I sit there and bring on a co-host, well, not a co-host, Matthew's the co-host. I bring on a guest host, and Matthew's, I guess, co-hosting still, because, you know, like one thing that people think can happen, but it can't, is that Matthew can host the show, and I can go and do his job for the night, and we can just switch. We can't, because Matthew has streamlined his end, and I've streamlined my end, and I know a lot about my field of doing this, and he knows a lot about his field, so it's kind of like a division of labor. You can't really take me and throw him into his spot, and you can't take him and throw him into my spot, because the whole thing would fall apart. So a guest host would have to be found from somewhere else. I drag him in, and then, you know, then they sit there and say something like, the liberal media, they're lying to you, they're pumping you full of drugs, and, you know, I don't have any control over that. And then the whole no politics thing just goes out the window. I didn't even have any control over it, and I didn't even know it was happening until the next day or the next time I look at my channel. So I would do that, but it's really a thing about control and making sure, like, just being honest, it is about control and making sure that the channel image stays the way it should be, because, you know, if you want to do something right, you got to do it yourself. And I wouldn't want to have a guest host on here, because I would be scared of what might happen and what kind of things they would do that I wouldn't do, due to, you know, me respecting certain things and stuff like that. But with that, I hope that does address that comment for Laura. And I'm also going to have to be honest with y'all, I probably am going to have to take you up on that in the future and take another day or two off at some point, because I have no break. I told you all my schedule. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, but I have no breaks right now. Like, there is no such thing as a day off. Like, right now, what is considered a break is just 4 hours of free time in the entire 7-day week, and that is considered a break for me right now. And I used to have like a full day break where I could sit there all day and, you know, really just get ready to do this 6 days again. But now I don't even have that because of going to college. So I'll probably have to do that also just to keep up with, you know, keep up with the schoolwork. But with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And we are on to the next one.
All right. And our next one goes to Backyard Beef Farm, who puts in a $15 donation and does not, excuse me, does not leave a comment, but said, man. Well, I can't repeat that. But anyways, thank you very much for the support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I thank you so much for the support, Backyard Bee Farm, because, of course, you help this channel keep on. That is the right one, right?
Backyard Bee Farm, yes.
Okay, because you said he had a comment. I was looking at it. There was no comment because you said, man, and you said, nah, I can't read that. But
Well, no,
still,
they said something afterward.
okay, got you. But still, thank you so much once again for the support, Backyard Bee Farm. And, of course, thanks to your support, you're helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope we addressed that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next. I'll also mention Hobbit said, if I did a certain impression that I may have done for just a split second there, traffic would increase by 5-fold. That's a little scary because I don't know what kind of traffic that would be. Depending on either direction that would go, it might not be that grand. But still, that is pretty interesting. I mean,
They're trying to keep you out of nature. For some reason, we have U.S. national parks, but the government's trying to keep you out of nature.
but anyways, with that, we are on to the next.
All right. So up next, we have a $5 super chat from Dark Warrior 137, who says, warning, because you didn't listen to Russia's last warning, they are warning you that if you don't listen to this warning, they will warn you again.
Wow, that's a lot of warnings. Too bad I don't read signals well. But still, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well, and I'll have to keep on pushing past the current warning because I'm wanting to see what happens when we wear out all the warnings. And now the Russians begin saying, YouTubers are asking for nuclear war. Do you want it? But with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support and letting us know the Russian diplomatic play.
All right. So up next, we have a $15 super chat from John Zedrin, who says, for the Operator Starsky IRL meet, fond and hope you may meet IRL, Slava Ukraine, and LSA.
And thank you so much for the support, John Zetrin. Maybe one day we will meet in person. Maybe Starsky and me may. And I think he'll be back on the show soon. Soon. Trademark. Patented. Registered. But still, maybe we'll meet them in real life. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support, John. And Slava Ukraini. And long live the Lee Spring Army. And if y'all are a big fan of the Lee Spring Army, give us a long live the Lee Spring Army. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jesus UCSB, who puts in a $5 donation and says, we are NAFO. Russia, we are in your walls.
That sounds like some schizo stuff.
Man, that's like termites, like in the walls.
He's in the walls. He's in the walls.
Yeah, have you seen that meme, Matthew?
Nah.
What? You haven't seen the Blart and Son or whatever it was meme where like the guy is like, I'm already gone, and then he's like, he's in the walls.
I thought you didn't have time to think during the day because you're so busy. How do you have time to watch memes?
Dude, I sit there when I'm I sit there when I'm loading up the little intro thing because it takes 6 minutes, and I go scrolling through memes, and there's like this one. Let me pull it up right here. Mark in the walls. I'll play the audio. I can't play the clip because it'll probably get copyrighted. Let me see. I think this is it. Why is there no audio?
It's a warning for you.
Yeah, it's a warning. It's giving me a chance to back out before I get screwed over. So with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. Like what the hell, man? You expect me to like show up to college and get in the classroom like 15 minutes early and just sit there and do nothing? Like I get on my phone and I start looking at stuff like memes and emails and things. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you so much once again for the support. And the NAFO is in the walls. They are also in your skin. Pull your skin off. They are under your skin. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one, yeah?
That's why 90 said, call him out. Call him out.
Call him out. Call him out. Sasui 90 said, call him out. Call him out.
You know, actually, when I think about it, like, calling us out, that's actually a good thing.
That's like
feel free to call us out.
That's a plug. Call us out, please. By all means, call us out. I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. They said they're gonna call me out. And then people start showing up. I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. I'm telling you. Oh, man. Oh, it's tough. Oh, real tough, I'm telling you. But anyways, I'm not gonna do that one for too long because I know that some people are gonna be like, oh, God, it's back. But anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Craig Platel, who puts in a $5 donation and says, if not already mentioned, you need to add the 100 plus naval aviation aircraft to get the minus Rus numbers.
And I thank you for clarifying that. But I think that we did already include that, bleed. Let me check real quick. The Russian Air Force aircraft. Let's take a look, Suck it, bleh. I'm dying from alcohol poisoning. Let's see here. It looks like we did include them, yeah, because the Russian Air Force aircraft, I believe, are just like an Su-35 or something like that. Now, we did include those, if I'm correct. So with that, I hope we addressed that fairly well, Blade, because we already did that, you know what I mean? But with that, thank you so much once again for the support and also helping us to keep this channel running. And also look at these beautiful Russian aircraft, like the stupid thing right here called the Kazan Ansat. This thing just looks stupid, you know what I mean?
It looks dumb.
It looks dumb. We both did it at the same time. We both thought the same thing. But with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running.
And up next, we have a $5 super chat from TLM771, who says, I love the hilarious impersonations, so keep them coming. Try Orange Man and Rodney in an Orange Man hotel with a narration by Matt. In today's episode, we have the Orange Man and Rodney in an Orange Man hotel. And you're in the Twilight Zone.
Hey, thank you, narrator. Welcome to the Trump Hotel. How may I help you?
I'm telling you, man, I get no respect around here. You got any rooms?
Hey, listen, man, you look like a room. All right, what kind do you want? You want a queen bed? I bet you don't want a king because you don't have a wife on.
Oh, I'm telling you, you're right. I get no respect around here. The last time I talked to my wife, she was, man, let me tell you before I even get to that. Oh, man, our love life isn't that good. Last time we were, I can't say that, though, because we have limits on this channel. Like, most of Rodney's jokes I can't say, so.
And it was at this point that Rodney asked the Orange Man if he'd be willing to allow him to spread out his weights and knock him around a little bit.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I'm not a fit guy or anything, but I'm trying to get into this hotel, you know what I mean? Try and lift weights. Oh man, last time I went to the doctor, he told me I'm so fat I could be the next gravitational pull on the earth, you know what I mean? And I'm just wanting to know, if I can get some weights and spread them out, you know what I mean? Lift him in the room, just pump iron.
Listen, man, you sound kind of unhinged. Sounds like there's something bad wrong with you. You sound like a psycho, kind of like one of those people trying to cross the Mexican border. But some of those people are good people. Some of them. Just a small number. But not you, pal. You're kind of weird.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. I tried to come into your hotel the other day, and the other guy told me I couldn't either. Come on, man. Come on.
And it was at this point Orange Man put Rodney in a chokehold, and thus led to his life sentence in Rikers Island.
I'm telling you something that's dumb. If that greedy son of a bitch didn't turn me in, I wouldn't be in here today. I'm telling you, I was the best criminal. I had connections with the mob.
Drop the soap, man. But anyways, with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that addressed that fairly well. And I hope it works, because I never know if those work. I'm trying to come up with everything on the fly, so I don't know if it's good or not. And also, I'm glad to see that the Clown Motel has survived into tonight, because a lot of y'all didn't like that phone call last night, but I have seen some of y'all saying the pump iron for 3 days stuff and things like that. Like, it's a stupid phone call. Like, you can hardly laugh at it, but you remember the lines from it forever because it was just so goofy. It was weird like that. But anyways, thank you so much once again for the support. I'm glad you do enjoy the voices. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $10 super chat from Terrace Kulik, who says, greetings, guys, and please use this to take a question from the live chat.
And thank you so much for the support, Terrace Kulik, and we will make sure to get one from the live chat. And also, hello! And so with that, let's get a live chat.
And this live chat goes to Happy Dragon, who says, Enforcer and Matthew, could the earthquake itself have caused the explosions themselves?
Oh, oh no. I'm telling you. Oh, man, I get no respect around here in the Russian arms factory. I mean, the Iranian arms factories. Oh, man, you can't get that wrong. No, they didn't get blown up by the earthquake because the earthquake happened in the early hours of the morning during daylight. The missile attacks happened later on at night, and also they were bombs hitting the buildings because you could kind of like hear the missile whooshing in and then hitting the building. So those two things are totally separate. But that was a good question though, because on the surface you would think that those things may have actually gotten some sort of damage from the earthquake, but they didn't. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. Also, I see everyone saying Rodney's dead in the live chat. I don't know what happened to bring that up, but yeah, he died a while ago.
Somebody asked if he's alive.
That's like the Michael Jackson fans. Oh boy, I can't wait to hear Michael Jackson's new album, and they don't know he's dead. Oh man, I hate to tell you, man, but he died a while ago. But anyways, we're on to the next one.
Right, and our next one goes to Craig Platel again, who puts in a $5 donation and says, you missed the Barak 8 and Iron Dome systems for Azerbaijan.
I think I did, but we never saw the SAM list on Wikipedia, if I remember correctly. So while they do have them, we didn't see them on the list to cover them. So with that, I thank you for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. But you're right, we did miss that, and I'm going to eat another one of my feet, and now I have to get a new pair. Great. But with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again.
And up next, we have a $3 super chat from Backyard Bee Farm, who says, LSA moment, the boat looks great.
Oh, man,
thank you so much for bringing that back up.
I thank you for the support, and that is actually how the Lee Spring Army originated, because I got something so wrong it was hilarious, and that's where the Lee Spring thing comes from, if y'all are wondering. But yeah, that is a real Lee Spring moment to sit there and say, oh, that boat looks fine, and then it cuts to the boat on fire in the middle of the river. Like it's just a literal torch. But yes, that is a Lee Spring moment for sure. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope we addressed that fairly well, and we're on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $2 super chat, as always, from Dupper Bob, who puts in a comment and says, Slava Ukraine.
And of course, Dupper Bob, thank you so much once again for the support. You have never failed, I don't think, in supporting this channel a single day. And also, Slava Ukraine. And so with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you once again.
And up next, we have a $2 super chat from Midget Hobbit once again, who says, please, Ukraine, take Lil Mosi to the front lines.
Okay. I thank you for the support.
What's that like? I'm gonna like run from the enemy and Lil Mosi this way. Like, what does that mean?
I'm gonna mosey on over. I'm gonna mosey my way up there to the Russians. I'm gonna give them.
Is that a person?
I don't know. I don't know if that's a person. It sounds like a
Punch
phrase.
it up.
How do you spell it?
Lil space Mosey. This is a rapper.
How old is this guy? Like,
this guy looks like he's about 10.
21 years old? This guy looks like he's like 13. I'm not believing that. This guy's faked his like, oh my god. Someone said he looks like one of the new Avatar characters. Oh, I don't mean to roast anyone like that or be rude or anything. But this guy does not look 21. He looks like he's 13 or something. I mean, yeah, he doesn't look 21. He's 13. Oh man, whatever.
Does this guy have a bad reputation or something? Why do we need to take him to the front lines?
I don't know. But also, man, I feel like if that guy got up, like he'd be like, "Hi guys, you want to hear my rap?" Like he doesn't have a deep voice, I would bet. I can't pull up any of his stuff though because we probably get copyrighted for it. He sit up there, man, on the stage talking about, "Tell him F12, F SWAT, busting all the bells in the box." But anyways, we're on to the next one, and thank you once again for the support. I didn't even know who the hell this was until today, and honestly, I feel like I've had a pretty good life up until now. And so with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a $10 super chat from Craig Platel, who says, Enforcer, go look up Russian naval aviation list of aircraft, not Russian Air Force. They each have an inventory of aircraft that you need to add together to get minus Rus numbers. Man, Craig is asking you to do some math. He's asking for it, literally.
He's asking for it here. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Russian naval aviation. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. This is where the extra numbers are coming from. You're right. You're right. I was wrong. You're right. You're right. Well, I guess we cleared that up. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support, Craig Patel. And if you add those together, you do get the other number they had. I don't think those should be included, though, because we've never seen the naval aviation used in this war, and there's no way to use them because the Kuznetsov is in port right now getting repairs, and those won't be completed until after the war. And also the Kuznetsov caught on fire, so it's probably even going to take longer. So with that, I thank you for the support, though, Craig, and you are correct. That's where they're getting that number from. And so with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support and clarifying how that number was found that way.
All right. And up next, we have a $7 super chat from Rocco's World Domination, who says, have you and Matt ever had a pierogi before? They're the best Ukrainian and Slavic food. Igor in Slavic Ukraine. And also, by the way, I was walking through Publix the other day, and I saw a pierogi in a box in the frozen section. And I thought about getting it, but I got scared and I walked away.
Man, that thing looks good. Man, pierogi's a classic.
What's in it?
Food. Often stuffed with mashed potatoes, fried onions, sauerkraut. Man, that thing sounds like a pasty from Cornwall.
Sauerkraut?
Yeah.
In a Russian dish? That's German.
In a Ukrainian dish, you goof. That's not no Russian dish.
I thought it was like Slavic, as in they all ate it.
Are
you sure they don't all eat it? Because I could have sworn they did.
Let's see. Place of origin, Europe, Asia. Are pierogies Ukrainian or Polish? They're Polish. Interesting.
Polish, eh? But they're eaten in Russia. I know that.
Kurwa. That's a Polish curse word, by the way. But I think they eat these things everywhere. Yeah, I think you're right, Matthew. But that's interesting. Very interesting. A lot of people saying they're Polish, and it looks like they are. I haven't had these things before, and maybe I'll try one because they sound pretty good. I mean, like, I like the contents. Let's see. What are pierogies made of? Popular fillings include meat, cheese, sauerkraut, potatoes, and fruits.
Fruits?
Fruits? What kind of fruits? Pears or something? I don't know, but it sounds interesting. I'd give it a try. But with that, I hope that does answer the question fairly well, Rocco World Domination. And thank you so much once again for the support, helping this channel to keep on running, and also telling us about brand new foods and cuisines that we might try here in the future. And so with that, we're on to the next one. But thank you once again.
All right, and up next, and it appears for the moment, this is our last super chat. This one goes to Dark Warrior 137, who puts in a 2 and says, "Wenel Imperial." Also, Wenel, I don't think is a proper word, but anyways, when will Imperial Star Destroyers be sent to Ukraine? And also, thank you for the support.
And thank you for the support, Dark Warrior. And to answer that question very soon, we have not been able to confirm the delivery of F-16s, but the Star Destroyers are on the menu. And so we'll probably see those things over there in about a month or two. But of course, it requires some training. But with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well. And thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, that wraps up our Super Chat segment for the time being until someone throws in another Super Chat, and then we'll answer that. And so with that, we're going to be answering live chats for the rest of the night. And so with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and of course, first up, we have the Morse code decoders of the stream. JP's RCs, Mark Hodges, Rumpelstiltskin, C. Fay, and also Cliff Simonson. They say the Morse code says Iranians were happy with this war until they got walloped. Slava LSA and Slava Ukraine, Igor!
And y'all did get it correct. Somehow y'all are able to take and every night make a message out of it. I'm really impressed by that. And also, that is the correct message. They were all happy with this war until they got walloped. And so with that, Thank you for translating that, Igor. And with that, we are on to the next one. And it looks like right when we said we were out of super chats, we got 2 more. And so with that, what we got?
Yes, we do have another from Midget Hobbit, who puts in another 5 and says, are you able to react to Space Marines when guardsmen ask about Chaos Space Marines? It's a YouTube short and reminds me of Russians' morale.
I could try. I'll go pull it up real quick and see. Let's see, Space Marines. Let me type that in. Space Marines when guardsmen ask about chaos. Oh, it's got a guy in it, Matthew, that I just did a little bit earlier. You know, the liberal media, they're lying. It's that guy.
Oh.
Let's see what this is about. Also, to fill Matthew in, this is some kind of a Warhammer 40k thing because he's dressed up in Warhammer 40k stuff. So it's not political, but the guy in it is inherently political. So let's see what it says. So let's go.
Not a world, Winston, that gets more beautiful and more technological and stronger. A world that gets uglier and stupider and more stunted. You want an image of the future, Winston? It's a boot stomping on a human face forever. Stand now? Yeah, they're like demons from hell, just right on that dimensional line. Just...
What the hell? Dude,
that dude might be able to pass as a Satanistic person.
With Valerian's the Lord talks about the West being full of demons. He's talking about this one noise right here.
On that dimensional line. Just...
Forget the joke here. That is just crazy. Like, I don't even know how he makes that noise.
Trying to get control as fast as they can. They got the highest death rates, the execution vans, the giant human chimera facilities, the cows producing human milk, the hell forces. It's the most soulless evil.
Oh, gosh.
Man, but yeah, I got like in all honesty, that I guess that's what a Space Marine would say about chaos. I mean, you know, I guess that would be. But still, that noise is what really took the cake for me. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And Jet Fusion, that is shocking, that statement right there. Like, I gotta say, like, I am shocked that people actually do that. But anyways, up next, we have another $5 super chat, this time from Craig Platel once again, who says naval aviation is ground-based and has been operating from Crimea. The airbase near Sevastopol is a naval aviation base.
Oh, I'm wrong. Interesting. I would take that as true. I'm probably wrong because that would make a lot of sense. Sevastopol is a naval base, and they probably have a naval air station somewhere around there. So I'm going to eat my foot on that one. Well, again, I'm almost down to getting a brand new pair of feet again tonight. But thank you once again for the support, Craig, and also clarifying that because apparently I've been fairly wrong about the Russian naval aviation, and they've included their own numbers into this current war. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for support and clarifying that for us.
Right. And also, side note in the live chat, Bella is over here trying to stir up a brawl in the live chat. I had to call it out. She said, you can't let your brother get away with calling you a goof. You gonna let that stand? You gonna let that fly? She's trying to stir up trouble.
I mean, we do it in good fun, though. We're not, like, actually being serious about that. So with that, we're on to the next one.
Although, if Bella needs a brawl, we have to have a brawl.
I mean, like, if you request brawl, we will have brawl. Bella said, "Ilim if that's so. If you want brawl, you will get brawl free. That is guarantee of channel. Hockey Redneck said Bella's going ham. Miss Disa said, or are you? And so is it. We are on to next one, yeah?
All right, so our next question from the live chat this time goes to Silver Earth, who says, Enforcer, what is up with that Turkish ship that was destroyed by Russia?
I'm going to have to declare ignorance on that one because I have not heard about a Turkish ship destroyed by Russia. So unfortunately, I can't really comment on it because I didn't hear about it. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But I'm sure there is something out there about that somewhere. And we're on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a question from CA Mountain Girl, who says, Enforcer and Enforcer Matt, did you see Operator Starsky's skit about building an aircraft from Russian kit? It was hilarious. Got to check it out. And I actually did see it, and I thought it was pretty cool. I thought he was actually about to start building a model kit, which would have been right up my alley. But he was making a joke, so I was like amused but disappointed at the same time. But Starsky is a pretty good humor. He's got that dry wit that neither me and Enforcer can master. We're like good at the dad jokes, but he's good at the dry wit. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say I have not watched it, unfortunately. Matthew told me about it, though, and it sounded really funny. So with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well. Honestly, I'm a big fan of watching people make model kits. I think that's really cool. And Matthew is too, because it's just neat to watch people make them. It's not so much fun making them, though, in my opinion. You know, because I used to make model kits, actually. I actually got into semifinals for a Tamiya championship back a couple of years ago. But I kind of got tired of it because it takes so much time and effort to make them, and nowadays I just couldn't have that. I don't have that kind of time, so, you know, that's kind of why I'm not into it anymore. It's not that fun because I can't find the time to do it. But with that, we are on to the next one. I hope we addressed that fairly well.
Oh, speaking of you getting an award for that Tamiya model, do you remember back in the day when I used to code the Arduino boards with like the little robots and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You remember I coded like that little like diorama like traffic light setup thing for like a model kit?
I think I remember that.
I got like a editor's award or something for that like way back in the day. Do you remember that?
Oh no, dude, I think I do now, but that's actually yeah, okay, now I remember it. Yeah, the little red light thing. Okay, now I remember that. Yes, I remember.
Yeah, something about you mentioning the Tamiya model made me like somehow remember that. It was so long. I think it was like 10 years ago. But anyways.
So if y'all are if y'all are wondering what model made it, Tamiya M41 Walker Bulldog, it was this model right here. I don't know if my picture. I wonder if my pictures are on Google. Let me see if they are, because there's some other ones on here. Is mine on here? Hang on.
I think only the winner's pictures got used, wasn't it?
No, all of the semifinalists were included. I feel it's almost. I almost feel. Oh my god, that's mine right there.
Wait, is that really it? That doesn't look like her wall.
Dude, I swear I did like the same like weathering. Wait a minute, no, that is not the table. Yeah, there's a different table, but that is like the exact same weathering I did and everything. That actually had me confused for a minute. I was like, no way. I was like, it's not mine though. Matthew's right. The wall was different. Because I used a white background for the entire thing, and I'm trying to... No, that's not it, because they did, like, rusting stuff, and I wasn't good enough to do rusting. Oh, let's see here. I'm looking. I don't see it, to be honest with y'all. It got really close that one time, but the wall was off. Dang it. Dang it. You know what we ought to do, Matthew, is we ought to replace one of our streams where we cover the news of people fighting and getting wounded and dying to defend their country, and just replace it one night with a stream where we talk about ourselves for like 2 hours, because I'm sure people are around for that. If you don't get the joke, I'll tell you later. But with that, we are on to the next one. But it was so close. I thought it was on here. It's not.
All right. So our next question from the live chat is going to go to Mad Machine, who says, Enforcer, is there any possible chance for Ukraine to start using swarm drone attacks?
Yes, there is a possibility for Ukraine to use swarm drone attacks. However, it would probably be resource inefficient. So while they have the ability to do it, they probably won't do it, because there's a better way to use the drones and conserve as many of them as possible. And so with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to, let's see here, Jay Lancaster, who says, you all should look up a nighttime satellite shot of North Korea and see the difference between them and South Korea and China. It's amazing to see. And they basically have like no electricity at night except for Pyongyang.
You said that so weird, man. You said Pyongyang.
Oh, we are from the South. I'm not going to say Pyongyang.
Pyongyang. Or I love the people who always sit there and act like they're going to be now like pro Spanish speakers, and they sit there and they're like talking in English, and they're like, we're now going to go to Ciudad de Mexico. It's like,
it's like so cringy when you hear that too. It's like, you're American. Just say it like an American.
All right, so here you go. Here's the nighttime sky. You can see the outline. They actually outlined on this map the borders of North Korea, China, a little bit of Russia up there where Vladivostok is, and then down here South Korea and Japan. And you see that South Korea is a nothing but a pure array of electricity and light. It really shows that the South Koreans have blossomed as a capitalist country. Their economy is doing incredibly well. Meanwhile, you have North Korea. There's
Pyongyang, by the way.
Yeah, there's Pyongyang. Pyongyang. And then there's a couple of other small little bits of light coming out of Korea. But for the large part, there's really nothing. And that's because Korea is so underdeveloped as a country, there's really no way for them to really power any of their electrical grid if they wanted one. Also, look, here's Korea at night, but they superimpose the light images onto a daytime map to show you where the electricity really is clearly. And there's none. I mean, like, there's nothing. These are Chinese border towns here that you see that have electricity. This is a Korean town. This is a Korean town. That's Pyongyang. And then there's a couple of smaller fishing villages outside of Pyongyang that have electricity. The rest of the country, never even touched by electricity. And also, another cool thing is that you can clearly see the DMZ is covered in lights across the entirety of the border. So you can visibly see it. But what's really interesting is India and Pakistan at night. India, Pakistan border night view from space. I'll show you all this. This is really cool. So, the border in between India and Pakistan physically doesn't exist. Like, there is no river or anything there that defines where their border is. So, if you look at India and Pakistan, you'll actually see, like, right here, their border is signified by a giant row that's thousands of miles long of lights. And those lights show exactly where the Indian-Pakistan border is, even in parts of the land where you physically cannot tell that there is any distinction in between India and Pakistan. So that's actually pretty cool that you can see from the night sky. And then you can see this, which, and also, man, isn't this kind of cool how the further west the United States goes, the more and more the rows and colors of lights get shaped into a grid right here, like all the towns are in a perfect distance away from each other in like a grid shape.
Yeah, it's true.
And another thing that's really cool is that you can see where all of the federal land begins, because no one can build on the federal land. You can't build a house or anything there. So you just have all of this emptiness here in the Midwest. And that's also because it's largely agricultural, and also because the federal government owns a lot of the land and they just keep it and they don't do anything with it. So kind of that's just really cool to look at. You know, looking at the night sky and like electricity and stuff is really just bizarre. And also you can see the India-Pakistan border here a little bit better in this picture. Like, there's the row of lights that I was talking about.
Oh, well, what about that?
Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. I wonder if there's a map. I wonder, Google map night mode. Oh, well, that just turns it dark. I was talking about, like, a night. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one, yeah? And we're going to be answering 2 more live chat questions, yeah?
All right. So, excuse me. Goodness gracious. The next one goes to classified veteran, and we've actually already answered that one, but we did cover it. And up next, we have a question from Two-Wheeler, who says, when Ukrainian towns get leveled, where do the civilians go for shelter? I hope they're okay and plenty of space in the UK.
When Ukrainian towns get leveled, usually at this point, the citizens have already been evacuated. They usually get moved further west into Ukraine, and they stay there. Earlier on in the war, people just fled out of Ukraine and into other countries, and so that's when a lot of international support was needed to keep these refugees alive. But nowadays, they just get moved further into Ukraine, further west. And so with that, I hope that answers that question fairly well. And with that, I would also like to thank Putin will hang in the middle of the Kremlin for a $8 super chat where he has a Shiba Inu with a megaphone or a horn yelling good luck. And thank you so much once again for the support.
What's it holding, though?
I think it's holding tickets to the Super Bowl. But thank you so much once again, Putin will hang in the middle of the Kremlin, for the support. And I thank you for the wishes of good luck. And so with that, I hope we answered that live chat fairly well and the support. And let's get on to the final question of the night.
All right. And the final question of the night goes to the lucky viewer, Ukraine-Russia war. You're still in the chat and says, can you show us the location of the Wagner HQ and what chance have we got to send a missile into it? Oh my goodness.
Oh my lord, Steve. Goodness. Reread that live chat again. Reread the line.
Oh. Can you show us the location of the Wagner HQ, and what chance have we got to send a missile into it?
Unfortunately, we don't know where the Wagner HQ is right now. The last one we knew of was at Pobiedy Stadium in Alchevsk, which is here. And I'll find it. I'll find it, Piotr. I'll find it, Bliet. Piotr. Wait, no, it wasn't in Alchevsk, was it? It was in Kadivka. Stadium Pobiedy. This is where their last headquarters we knew of was at, and it got struck by some missiles, and they killed a couple of hundred guys here. So that was the last place we knew. We don't know where the one is right now because they moved it after that strike. So unfortunately, we can't show you where that is specifically and where it hit it, but I wish we could because I would definitely be into watching that thing boing. And so with that, I hope we answered that live chat fairly well. And we had one last super chat come in. And so we're going to address that, and then we're going to round out tonight's stream. So with that, what is our final super chat of the night?
And this is Steve S.'s first super chat, but it's not his first time here on the stream. He says, well, first off, he puts in a $85 Canadian and says, I'm always watching on my TV, so I don't chat all that much. But I have been around quite a while. Slav Ukraine from Canada, and is all of Crimea covered by long-range HIMARS and Patriot ranges for advancing. Also, he said 25 cents a day.
And thank you so much once again for the support, Steve. And also, thank you for that being your first time supporting. I've noticed that we've had, ever since YouTube has introduced the new, congratulations feature to the Super Chats, we had a lot of people being first-time Super Chatters now. And I think that's really cool. And also, thank you once again for doing that, because that takes a lot usually for people to support this channel the first time. And I've got to thank you so much for just helping us to keep this thing alive and helping us to keep this project running. But to answer that, let's see, is all of Crimea covered by HIMARS and Patriot ranges for advancing? The HIMARS can reach 50 miles. So it can just reach right into Crimea, but that's about it. It can reach Armyansk pretty much, and anything beyond that would be a little too far. The Patriot, however, can reach out 100 miles, so it could reach a decent ways into Crimea, all the way from the controlled land they have right now. But if the Ukrainians were able to push onto Armyansk and they were firing from there, they could fire about a third of the way into the Crimean Peninsula. So it will be a pretty decent coverage. It won't be complete coverage, but it would be pretty good overall. And so with that, I hope we answered that part. And also, pretty cool to hear that you also watch on your TV. I think that's really cool that people watch this like a TV program, like on their TV. And I thank you so much once again, Steve. I've seen you around forever, and I thank you so much for supporting us for the first time and helping this channel to keep on running. It is viewers like you who help this thing to keep going. We run this thing ad-free, and so y'all are pretty much the only way we can support this channel and help this thing to keep on rolling. And so with that, I hope we addressed that fairly well. Thank you so much once again, Steve. And with that, we are rounding out tonight's stream. I thank you all so much once again for watching. If y'all did enjoy, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, make sure to comment, and make sure to join us tomorrow for the Sunday night fundraiser. We'll, of course, be hoping to blow through fundraiser goals again and make sure to reach the stars. And so make sure to join us tonight, and make sure to join us tomorrow night, and make sure to help us to get over that goal and help the Lee Spring Army to succeed again. And so with that, we are going to be signing off for the night. Good night, good luck, take care. I'll see you all around tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and make sure to stay safe. And of course, Slava Ukraini.
Love Ukraine.
Grain from Ukraine.
Yes.
The Lee Spring Army sends its regards.
Усміхнеться доля, згинуть наші ворожі. дороженькі, як роса на сонці, запануємо ми, браття, у своїй сторонці, душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що